after football. For a lot of players, it means going into punditry. Some turn to coaching or working in the game in other ways. But what about the rest? Some former footballers turn their sights away from the game, and there are a few big surprises. First up, from rainbow flicks to pancake flips. Ex-Chelsea and Southampton defender Ken Monku switched up his footballing career to buy a Dutch pancake house. He bought out the shop, which had been his favourite pancake spot as a child, and before long he was mixing the batter and getting behind the stove. Next, Everton legend Thomas Gravesen swapped out the high stakes of the Premier League for those of the poker room. He made over 150 appearances for the Toffees and won the Scottish Premier League with Celtic. Turned out the Danish international was pretty darn good at poker. He racked up a reported £100 million from his Las Vegas adventures. Remember former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech? Turns out football nets weren't the only goals he was pretty handy in front of. After retirement, he became a goaltender in ice hockey. Same skills, very different surface. And he even won a Division 2 title with Guildford Phoenix. For ex-Liverpool centre-back Daniel Agger, it wasn't just fancy footwork that was in his blood. He was also pretty good with his hands. The Denmark international turned to tattoo artistry after he hung up his boots. He'd qualified as a skin artist while at Anfield, and he then became the co-owner of his own tattoo company as well. It's not all glamour for ex-pros, though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf, the former Chelsea defender, was part of the 1998 France squad who won the World Cup. He ended up marking Brazil's Ronaldo in the final and helped his side to a 3-0 win. But Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything.
I embrace the career of acting, so I want to learn more. So seeing lots of movies is a part of my job.
To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Kickoff. I'm Hugh Woozencroft alongside the one and only the former Wales captain, former Swansea and Everton defender Ashley Williams is here. We're going to take a close look at England's international break tonight. A draw with Uruguay, last night's defeat by Japan. What did we learn? Who's played their way in or out of Thomas Tuchel's squad? Should he have developed this team further? And are England sleepwalking into a poor tournament this summer? You can give us your thoughts on 03717 223344. Meanwhile, we'll discuss Wales, of course, under Craig Bellamy. What's next for them? We'll ask also if Roberto De Zerbi is the right man for Spurs right now. We'll get Ashley's thoughts on Everton's European push and the current state of defending as well. All that and much, much more on a very busy evening. This is Kickoff. Delighted to have Ashley Williams in the building. Hello, everyone. Hope you're well. I woke up this morning not very happy indeed. Immediately checked Jamaica's playoff result. And Italian fans, I know how you're feeling as well. Italian diaspora in particular, I know how you're feeling today. We couldn't do it against Congo. Congratulations to them. Axel Tuanzebe getting the winning goal in extra time. But yeah, gutted. Obviously, you know, I'll be supporting England this summer. It's a multicultural nation, yeah, Ashley.
My dad's from Jamaica, so I was invested in that game as well, and that didn't go. So it was a bad time for me. 2 playoff
defeats for you in a
stings.
Tough one. How are you, firstly?
I'm great. No, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? You good?
No, I'm good. Aside from England's performance last night, I'm very good. And it's been one of those weeks, hasn't it? It's the high-pressure games. But we know all the teams that are going to be at the World Cup. Looking at the fixtures today, it's going to be a lengthy World Cup. Of course, you're going to hear every game live here on talkSPORT. But, I'm not overly And we'll talk about it later this night, but I'm not overly confident in England's chances. I'm sure I'll tell everyone about it later. What have you been up to generally, though? Because we've seen you in the media. We've heard you in the media, obviously, but you're welcome to talkSPORT. We're laying out the red carpet
mate.
for you today.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
Make my debut. No, I've just been working. So this week was Wales. Everything was surrounded around Wales, so that's disappointing. But again, in the Wales thing, it's like you don't want to get too wrapped up in this week because they've done a great job. But just not to see Wales at the World Cup, and especially when it kicks off, will be disappointing from a Wales point of view. But no, just the usual, just trying to lay low and do my work, and try and speak as much sense as possible.
Hopefully tonight we get a solid 3 hours of you speaking sense. I wanted to ask you about Wales, actually. I know you said there's disappointment there, but they've done very well indeed. Wales fans, if you've got a view, you want to talk to your former captain, give us a call, 03717 223344. They were second in their qualifying group behind Belgium, unfortunately beaten by Bosnia-Herzegovina on penalties at home in that first playoff leg, and then to watch Bosnia come past Italy and make the tournament itself. You lost to them in a shootout. It must have been tinged with a slice of regret.
Yeah, I'll be honest, when it went to extra time, we are missing big players. Ben Davies, Connor Roberts is big for us, Kiefer Moore's big for us. And when it went to extra time, and we should have got it done in the 90 minutes, I think everyone feels that. We was the better team, apart from a little spell in the game. And it went to extra time, and I just thought, even if we win this now, and we have Italy on Tuesday, it's going to be a big ask, because the majority of those players will have to play again. And then when we lost it, I was like, okay, because it's going to be a stretch against Italy. Well, at the game last night, Northern Ireland, which wasn't a great game. It never was going to be two teams that don't want to be in that position but had to play the game out. And then getting the news of Bosnia have taken them to extra time, to equalise extra time, it was like a double whammy, because you just thought what could have been.
Big missed opportunity, do you feel? Or...
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because even before that, in the qualifying campaign, we were good. And there was probably a period where you thought we could probably push Belgium. There was a bit where you go, we can push Belgium and try and get the first spot. Then we didn't get that. We knew we knew if it went to the playoff, we'd get 2 home legs. So we was all feeling confident about it. Bosnia came out, and it's a winnable game at home. And then Italy would be difficult, but again, it's a winnable game at home. So you're going into it full of confidence. And then just the way, but trying to say after the game, disappointed, but it's just the way football goes. Sometimes there's highs and lows, and this is a low. The difficult thing is you have to wait again now till the next campaign. Yeah.
I think that Wales must be one of those sides, maybe a bit like when you played. That spine of the team, that quality that you had, a load of you playing Premier League, top flight, La Liga, whatever it is. If you were missing 4 of those 6, say, that went straight down the spine of the team, obviously you're not going to be the same side.
No.
There's probably fewer of those players, Matt. There's definitely fewer of those players in this current Wales team, and they were missing a big element, like you said, the Kiefer Moore, the Connor Roberts. Without those players, actually, was it always going to be a really difficult task for Wales to do it?
Yeah, we would have had to have the stars aligned a little bit in terms of we just needed the breaks, because, as you say, we had players missing. We needed those players. So without them, we would have had to play our best game for the 90 minutes and hope that the other team didn't do it that well. And Bosnia didn't actually do that well in the game. But there was a bit of me that was saying maybe this is a step too far at the minute for what Craig Bellamy's trying to build, which proved right in the end. But at the same time, I do like the fact that, Craig Bellamy has come out and said, no, I'm not taking that approach. We are just gutted because we wanted to get there. We thought we was good enough to get there, and we haven't achieved that objective.
We'll talk about Craig Bellamy a little bit more after the break, what he's done in the job so far, and kind of where he can take the team moving forward if he stays in charge. I wonder how big an if that is. I think he probably will stay in charge. He's been talking about how much he loves the job, but we know there are suitors for him. But anyway, we'll get to that. But now we know all the teams in the World Cup. There are a few football fans looking around today and kind of thinking, hold on a minute, isn't this meant to be, as far as possible, the best teams in the world, aka the best teams from each continent and each federation getting to the tournament? But actually the way it's worked out, they're looking at, for example, nothing against our friends from Sweden, a team that didn't win a single game during qualifying, but obviously finished top of their Nations League group. I think they might have been in the tier C, so the third tier of the Nations League, but they finished top of their group. They go to an automatic playoff. They made it through. They won the 2 games, so credit to them because they got the job done in the end. But certain fans are obviously reflecting on that and saying, hold on a minute. And it's not just them as an example. Aren't we meant to be sending all the strongest teams from UEFA, for example?
Yeah, do you know what? I can understand that because just as a fan of football, you want this World Cup, especially this World Cup. It seemed massive when you heard it was America and Mexico, Canada, and you want all the best teams and players to be on display in the summer, and we're missing some. That's what I feel like. We're missing some good teams. But then, is it right to say that if they didn't qualify, are they the best team? So I understand your point, like Sweden. Okay, should they be there? Well, they think they should because they might have had that objective and gone, we've nailed it. That's exactly what we wanted to do. We're there. We don't really care. The people of Sweden are happy. But as a neutral fan or someone watching it, you go, I think there's some teams there at home that we're not seeing.
What it does for me is and I think it's by design, they put an emphasis on finishing top of your Nations League group that gives you the playoff. Yeah. So that teams take the Nations League more seriously, right? So that throughout the Nations League, teams are playing stronger sides and they're really going for it and they're trying to... And I get that because obviously we were unhappy that we had friendlies that were kind of meaningless previously. Yeah. But should the Nations League importance outweigh the importance of those World Cup qualifiers?
No,
surely the World Cup qualifiers should come first.
It shouldn't outweigh it. But I remember going through the qualifying campaign with Wales and we knew in our back pocket we had this fallback situation to go to. So the point is, and we didn't like the friendlies. I didn't like playing in international friendlies. It felt like you was just playing for pride and just to do your best, but there was nothing on it. So they changed it for the Nations League. And I think I prefer that setup, but then there is question marks over, well, if that's going to get you to the World Cup, that doesn't make sense because there's a qualifying campaign for the World Cup, which is separate from the Nations League. So why now is that being factored in?
But there's a part of me that thinks, say you're one of the teams that aren't, I think Wales have got promoted to the top tier of the Nations League, for example, right? So they finished top of their Nations League group this time around, which got them the playoff. But actually you'd be going, well, I don't want to be in the top tier of the Nations League because we're not going to finish top of the tier A. Yeah. So we
might do.
Well, yeah, if you get England, possibly. But do you know what I mean? It's one of those where you go, actually, the second tier, or even being in the third tier of the Nations League, suddenly you're like, I'm climbing the ladder. And what for in the next 2 years, right? And maybe again with the Nations League, and I'm sure it is the case, you're probably going to get to a playoff for the European Championships in 2 years' time if you finish top of your Nations League group again. The Nations League wasn't really sold to us as a competition that was going to be so integral,
important
to getting to major tournaments.
I think it needs. My opinion is that all of that needs to be looked at. It needs an overhaul. It wasn't right before. I still don't feel it's right. I agree with you completely. So it's never simple. It seems like you can never work it out just by looking at it. You need to be told what's happening. Are you at home? Are you away? Have you made the playoffs? What does the Nations League mean? I think it should just be simplified and keep the Nations League, but don't have the implications on it if you get promoted, for example. Just treat that as something separate, like an ongoing tournament, if you like.
Yeah. There's part of me that feels, if you finish second, for example, in the top tier, you don't go automatically to a playoff, 2 games to get you to a World Cup. But obviously, if you finish top of a tier two tiers down, you do. I think there's an imbalance there that shouldn't really be the case. But anyway, we're going to come back to talk about Wales a little bit more, who, by the way, would have been in this playoff either way, right? Because they finished second in their group, but they also finished top of their Nations League group. So they would have been there either way, and that's down to the good work of Craig Bellamy. We'll discuss him next. Delighted to say the former Wales captain, Ashley Williams, with us on talkSPORT tonight. Wales fans, if you want to quickly ask him a question, give us a call, 03717 22 3344. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
So tell us, Adam, what was it like working with Roberto? Because obviously you worked under some great managers, Klopp, as you know, we all know how great he was. So where do you put Roberto as a coach, and what he helped you develop your game?
Right up there with the top. I always compared him with Jurgen, actually, probably just the passion that they both possess for the game. I think kind of tactically and game model wise they're completely different, but in terms of like love and passion for football, they're exactly the same.
Adam, as an interest, I've got to read you a quote, if I may, from your teammate back in the day, Lewis Dunk, in 2023. He said this about De Zerbi, and I quote, "Since the new coach arrived, I see football in a completely different way." He said, "But the initial transition was carnage and confusion." So I get it totally. It maybe took a little bit of time for him to get his message over. The one worrying thing for Tottenham fans, he doesn't have a lot of time to get that over, though.
No, I think listen, Roberto's an extremely smart man. He'll know that he's not got time to play a certain way, a certain style, and he won't be snobbish to not understand that. He knows he's got to go in there, motivate a group of men, and luckily for Roberto, he might not know that, but he's one of the most inspirational managers people there is, in my opinion.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. I am Hugh Woozencroft alongside the former Wales captain Ashley Williams this evening. We're going to get to his thoughts on Craig Bellamy in a moment. First, though, live football ongoing. Women's Champions League quarter-final second leg, and it's a London derby between Chelsea and Arsenal. The latest from talkSPORT's Ian Abrahams.
And Arsenal lead 3-1 coming into the second leg of this tie. A 2-goal lead is what Chelsea had to overcome last season in the quarter-finals against Manchester City when they won 3-0 here. But can they do it against the holders, who won their last 11 games in all competitions, starting with a 2-0 win in January, you guessed it, here at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea line up with Hannah Hampton in goal, a back four of Carpenter, Buchanan, Berman and Bronze, Newskin, Cuthbert the skipper, and Walsh the three in midfield, and Alicia Thompson and Lauren James either side of Sam Kerr, who's returned from duty at the Cup in Australia that they won last weekend. Arsenal, they start off with Van Domslar in goal, a back four of Fox, Wubben-Moy, Catley and McCabe, three in midfield of Little and Mariano Caldente, with Russo just pushing into a number 10 role, Ford and Smith either side of last year's winner in the final, Stina Blackstenius, who also got the opening goal at the Emirates last week. It's Chelsea against Arsenal. Arsenal lead 3-1 from the first leg.
Into the last quarter of an hour or so between Manchester United and Bayern Munich. The latest with Angelina Kelly.
It's Bayern Munich 0, Manchester United 1. Bayern are knocking at the door. Their momentum has been really, really building in this second half. But credit where it's due to Manchester United's defence, in particular centre-back and captain Maya Letizia. She has been glued to Bayern's superstar striker Pernilla Harder, and keeper Fallon Tullis-Joyce has made some important saves. Mark Skinner has not long brought Simeo Ujo off for Lisa Nielsen in midfield, meaning that he only has 3 outfield players left on his bench to use. It's Bayern Munich 0, Manchester United 1, 3-3 on aggregate.
OK, time now for an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And I'm delighted to say Chris Wood joins us now from Ladbrokes. Good evening.
Hi, Hugh. Hi, Ashley. How you doing?
Very well indeed, my friend. Everyone is in the hat. Everyone is on their way to the World Cup. We know the 48. Has the betting changed at all? Maybe after viewing England last night, the betting's changed a little bit in terms of the favourites. What do you make of the leaders?
Yeah, no, definitely. Spain are still favourites at 9-2. They've been pretty steady. We've chopped France into 11-2. They look so good going forward. Just unbelievable attacking options all over the place. England, we pushed out the 13-2. Obviously, two very underwhelming performances, but they are only friendlies. Argentina in 8-1. Brazil 8-1. Portugal 10-1. We've moved Germany out to 14-1. Not been that impressed with them lately. Netherlands are 20s. Dark horses, Norway look very short now to me at 25-1. Belgium are 33s. And England's conquerors, Japan, they're 50-1. We've chopped them in from 66. It's been a bit of interest today.
Any England specials? We'll be discussing them after 7:30 in more detail, by the way, England fans. So don't worry, you'll get your chance to have your say. Any specials on the three lions?
Yeah, we've got the stage of elimination up at the moment. England still look very likely to go through from their group. Obviously, you can back them at 25-1 to be knocked out of the group stage. They're 7-10 in their first game against Croatia, who are the second favourites in that group. So it should be relatively plain sailing. But then 3-1 to be knocked out at the stage of 32, which I can't believe I'm saying. The stage of 32 just doesn't feel right at all. Then the last 16 is 3-1. Quarter-final is 4-1. Semi-finals 11-2, and to finish as runners-up, they're 7-1. To win their group, they're 3-10. Croatia are 7-2 in that group to win. Ghana are 9-1, and Panama, the massive outsiders, at 33-1. I'm just going through the top goal scorer market and pricing that up at the moment as well. You can back Harry Kane to be top scorer in the competition at 6-1. Bukayo Saka is 40-1. Bellingham 66. Cole Palmer 66, and Rashford's 50-1. And if any of those players don't go, you'll get your stake back if they're not on the plane to the World Cup.
A big weekend ahead of us. We're into the quarter-final stage of the FA Cup. Where are you seeing the value there?
Value, well, I mean, I think the best tie of the round's got to be City against Liverpool. City are 4-5, the draws in at 3-1, and Liverpool are 3-1. City to qualify is 2-5, and Liverpool are 7-4. I mean, City, I think they are obviously the better team at the moment, but I don't think there's that much disparity, and defensively they've looked weak. I think that 7-4 Liverpool's probably okay, and obviously Liverpool are desperate to win a trophy now. Southampton are 8-1 to win in 90 minutes. Arsenal are 3-10. Arsenal very short 1-9 to qualify. Southampton are 9-2. Chelsea obviously very, very short against Port Vale, 1-12 to win in 90 minutes. Vale are 25-1 to cause an upset there. And West Ham are 7-5 at home to Leeds. The draws in at 13-5 and Leeds 17-10. That looks the most competitive of the round. I'm looking forward to watching that. The outright prices: Arsenal are the favourites at 15-8. Man City next in at 11-4. Chelsea are 7-2 with that. It looks like an easy game on paper. Liverpool 6-1. West Ham 12s. Leeds 14s. Southampton 50s, and Vale are obviously the massive outsiders there at 250-1.
I don't know, man. Port Vale this weekend, a huge upset in the cup. The way things are going.
Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it.
No,
it'd be nice to see it. Don't get me wrong. Just as a,
did you ever have a big upset when you were playing? Either way, whether you were on the underdog or the Goliath?
No, but remember when we won the League Cup, Bradford did get all the way to the final.
Oh, yeah.
I think they beat Arsenal and Villa on the way. So
that's true. Well, you got to the League Cup final. I mean, Swansea were a Premier League side, but you were still...
We beat Chelsea in the semi, so that would be an upset. Yeah.
There you go. Beating Chelsea in the semi-final. I mean,
could happen for Port Vale.
Big timer here. That's not.
No, what I'd say, they've got ex-Argyle man Ben Waine playing up front for them. He's done really well this season. Yes. I'd love to see him cause an upset. So best of luck to him.
You'll be able to listen this weekend here on talkSPORT. Chris Woods, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at the latest odd with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Things were tight in the Champions League quarter-final second leg. There has been a goal. Angelina Kelly.
It's Bayern Munich 1, Manchester United 1. A corner comes in from the right-hand side towards the middle of the 6-yard box to the head of their captain, Gloris Vigosdottir, and she manages to head it straight towards Valentina's choice. She gets a hand to it, but cannot stop the ball from going into the back of the net. United have been great defensively, but Bayern, like I said, they were knocking at the door and do deserve the goal. It's Bayern Munich 1, Manchester United 1. Bayern lead 4-3 on aggregate.
So, Ashley Williams, a former Wales captain, with us tonight. We were discussing Wales, who obviously missed out on the World Cup. And like you said earlier, you don't want to be too negative about them because actually, under Craig Bellamy, they've played very, very well, had some good results as well. So now we can look to the future, really. With him in charge, do you support him staying as the manager?
Absolutely, 100%. I think everyone does in Wales. It's not... The only question mark is, does he get picked off by a club team that needs a manager? Because the job that he's done, he's caught people's attention.
What's impressed you most about Bellamy so far? Because when he came in, we know the backstory of Craig Bellamy. This was his first job in management. People didn't really know what to expect from him. What have you made of him as a person and a coach?
I think the way he's been able to express himself, the way he's communicated outside of the dressing room, so with the media. I knew him very well. He's one of my best friends in football. I learned a lot from playing with him on how to lead a team, on how to be a professional. He was one of the most professional players I've ever played with. So I knew him well anyway. You'd wonder how that's going to translate. I didn't have the concern of what most people that don't know him have. Is he going to lose his temper and his composure and all that? And he hasn't at all. But just the way he's been able to explain, and I think that's an important job as a manager, being able to educate the media and the fans and the outside noise, or else sometimes we'll all be saying, well, what's he doing? What's the manager trying to do here? But he's let us know, I want to do this. We are going to do this. And then if it didn't happen, like last night in the first half, he tells you exactly, well, we didn't do, this is what I told you what we wanted to do. So that's impressed me. And then the impact, the instant impact he made, I interviewed him on his first day in camp or second day, and then they had Turkey in the next game. And within 5 minutes, I've never seen a Wales team play like this. It was completely different, even to when I played or any of the teams, any Wales team before. It was just possession dominant. He'd got his message across to the players. And that's why I say the thing that's probably most impressed me is his communication. He's very clear on what he wants to do, very meticulous, lots of meetings, and we get that. And the modern player is... they don't mind that. Like in our day, we might have been like, this is one too many meetings or four too many. Do you know what I mean? But he will drill that into the players, and when they go on, they know exactly what they've done. He's getting the best out of players that maybe don't play for their club team, aren't getting in regular, and then they put on a Welsh shirt and they look very competent and confident. So he's in all aspects. So there isn't a part where I could say to you, I think he should have done better here. He's just done an amazing job.
Okay, all right. We're going to move on to England after the break. Before we get there, though, there's been another goal in the Champions League for Angelina Kelly.
It's Bayern Munich 2, Manchester United 1, a goal for Linda Dahlmann, and it's from another corner, this time on the left-hand side. It goes towards the edge of the box. Mallard manages to clear it off Fallon Tullis-Joyce's line. It then falls to Dahlmann, who fires the ball into the roof of the net. It is Bayern Munich 2, Manchester United 1. Bayern lead 5-3 on aggregate.
Okay, we'll be talking England next. I'm sure many of you have a viewpoint on it. We're talking about the game last night, but what we learned from this international camp as a whole as well. 03717 223344. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT.
All right, Cundy.
Hello, matey.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm okay, yeah.
Gone well?
Yes, so for those that don't know, the hair transplant last Thursday.
Yep.
A couple of days off.
Yeah.
Back in today.
You're looking well, mate. You look well.
So far.
You look hard.
Well, yeah. Well, the head's been shaved, right? So there's always got the image, haven't you? Like of a bit of a thug.
Yeah, you look like you're going to be on like Football Factory or something.
Yeah. But look, it went well. it's such a weird process. I mean, you're in the chair for about 8.5 hours. It's all done.
I mean, that's hell for you, right? You can't.
Oh, mate. Well, they gave me. I fell asleep halfway through it. They gave me sedatives. Yes, I struggle to sit still, mate. But
struggle.
I struggle to sit.
Impossible.
Still. Yes, but they're sedatives, mate. They work their magic. But here we go. So the beginning.
Mate, I like it.
Well, we'll see.
It's the new Cundy.
The new version.
The new version of.
No, improved. Don't know about that.
It looks all right, mate. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, look, big shout out to the Wimpole Clinic. Thank you very much for what they did. And we'll see the results, mate, over the next coming 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
You've got to have a haircut, mate. What's the haircut look? What's the trim? You going for a quiff?
Don't know what I'm going to go for, mate.
You look all right with the old skin.
Yes, I'm not having a hair transplant and then looking like this.
No?
I'm not. No, you don't have a hair transplant and shave your head.
It's all right, though.
Well, for the time being, I've got no choice. Yeah. I've got no choice. This is how it's going to be. All right, so there you go.
You're making me die.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, did it hurt? Obviously, during the operation, it's very weird, or during the procedure, very weird, mate. There was one at the back, so I had 3 people working on my head at one time, and I couldn't feel it, but I could feel them. It's all a bit like when you had the anaesthetic and a dentist. You know, someone's working on doing something, but you can't really feel it.
Last night's defeat to Japan might have been a negative end to an uninspiring international break, but here's some good news from Danny Murphy.
I think the biggest difference for me is that when I've seen England play, although against poor opposition for the majority of it, they are more front foot. They are more high energy with him. You're not going to get this pragmatist, boring, negative football that we saw in the last tournament.
Murphy says Jude Bellingham should be the next man up should Harry Kane be unavailable. Elsewhere, Harry Maguire could be at risk of an extended suspension following his red card at Bournemouth. He's been charged by the FA with improper conduct towards the 4th official and has till tomorrow to provide a response. Now, Roberto De Zerbi starts life at Tottenham with some bad news. Pep Sarr's joined their long injury list. Meanwhile, former Spurs striker Jermaine Defoe's been speaking for the first time as a manager.
Just being in that environment for me is something that I've always wanted, something that I've always loved. But yeah, I think you've got to enjoy it. This is something that I've always wanted. You have to embrace it. I've waited a long time, to be honest. I've done all the courses, I've put in the hours, and now it's here. I'm gonna enjoy this.
He's taken over National League Woking and is desperate to get going. Get more on all of that. It's on the website at
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. I am Hugh Woozencroft alongside the former Everton and Swansea defender Ashley Williams tonight. It's time to talk Three Lions. England finishing their friendlies last night with defeat to Japan at Wembley.
The footballing equivalent of judges' houses. Some had the X factor, some didn't.
Japan have been the best team in both boxes, and we all know that the most important area of the pitch is both boxes.
We knew that we play very difficult opponents who will arrive in their best possible lineup.
And it's side-footed in by Karu Mitoma. And Japan lead, a devastating counter-attack. And England weren't great in the first half, but there's been no discernible improvement at all since the break.
Work in progress is learning, and we've got time, and we know we'll be there and ready in the summer.
So much experience in the group, so much experience in the manager.
Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, they're absolutely miles off it.
Our best opportunity of scoring coming in probably the last 10 or 15 minutes when Maguire and Byrne come on.
Bowen, plenty of air underneath it, in towards Maguire. Good save by the goalkeeper.
The two games, I think, maybe have thrown up more questions than answers in many ways.
And England are booed off. England 0, Japan 1.
Yes, England's send-off series was more like goodbye, good riddance, frankly speaking. Brighton's Karu Mitoma with a winner last night. It was England's first loss at Wembley against a side from Asia. Thomas Tuchel also oversaw their first loss on home soil against a side from Africa, the 3-1 defeat by Senegal. It means England have failed to win any of their 3 games under Tuchel against teams ranked in the world's top 20. Of course, the draw with Uruguay the other. So I'm asking you this hour, and we'll talk about it for 60 minutes, what did we learn from the international camp? Who played their way either in or out for you? Should Thomas Tuchel have developed this team further? And are England possibly sleepwalking towards having a very poor tournament? 03717 223344 if you want to have your say. Firstly, the 35-man squad, the X Factor style auditions, did it work for Thomas Tuchel?
I don't think it worked, and I think it was a bit of a pointless exercise, I've got to be honest. I think it was a lot of players to call in, players that didn't even touch the grass anyway. I felt like before this camp, at this point, I think any manager, especially Thomas Tuchel, knows he's starting 11, ideally if all fit, and he probably knows nearly everyone that's going on the plane. So then I just question why use these 2 games. Because what can someone do in 1 or 2 of these games to change his mind? He sees them week in, week out. He knows what they can do. You use these 2 games to get your team together, all the ones that are fit, and work on stuff, because you can work as much as you want in training. It's different when you get on the pit in a real game. So I feel like it was a bit of a pointless exercise, just given the 2 teams that he started. I don't know what. It almost feels like he has done it to then leave people out and say, I did give you a chance, which is poor, really, I think, in that, if that is the case.
Well, listen, he's looked at so many players since he's come in. I guess there is not going to be an argument when he does pick his final squad. He can genuinely say, apart from the likes of, I guess, someone like Danny Welbeck, and he probably has called up Danny Welbeck. Someone will correct me, I'm sure, but he can probably say, I've had a look at all of them. I've met them in person. They've come to a training camp. I've watched them on the pitch, maybe not in a game, but at least on the training pitch. So maybe it was, if you like, a little bit of PR, managing the media, managing fans as well.
But if it is that, let's take it as that. That's not your job, I don't think. That who cares? Your job is to get the best team going in the World Cup, and this isn't how you do it by giving appearances to people that you're never going to pick anyway.
The thing that he said at the start, because I don't want to be all hindsight about it, at the time we said we understood why he was doing it. He came out and told us, we are going to essentially give some of the players that have had thousands of minutes, 3,500, nearing 4,000 minutes so far this season, we're going to try and give them a rest because they've almost played too much football. Mm-hmm. For me, I think 1 game's probably not enough rest. It's not going to make a difference in the summer, but I can understand why he did it. And the players that came back for the second game said they felt refreshed. They spent time with family. It was important to them. But obviously, some of them looked like they had been on holiday. Let's put it that way in that second game last night. But I don't want to be revisionist on it. I understand why he did it. I don't think he should have done it, but I understand why he did it. And I've said this previously, and I know people are going to get angry about it. I think this international camp, expectation being reduced is one way to put it, right? Mm-hmm. What I would say is, I think we should all be realistic. I've said it in previous tournaments, and I know people have got angry at me, and I'll say it for this tournament again. It's incumbent on me as a member of the media to be realistic with the England fans that, listen, we cannot talk about this side as a side that should be winning the World Cup. We can talk about it as a side that could go far if they're at their absolute best. And currently, they're nowhere near that. They are really behind the curve in terms of their preparation, time with their manager, in terms of gelling that first team together. I think we have a good idea of what the names are, but due to injury and other factors, they haven't really played together much in the last sort of 6 to 8 months. And so in terms of England's best team, it's going to be those 2 warm-up matches and then straight into the tournament in terms of playing together. Let's hope they get their fit. But let's not be too critical of Thomas Tuchel over these 2 games, because actually I think the bigger picture is we're not that great. We're not that great. We're good with a second tier, but we're not that great. I'm going to get your view on it in a second, because I think the full-time whistle has gone for Angelina Kelly.
Yes, it's Bayern Munich 2, Manchester United 1. Manchester United are knocked out of the Champions League. Melvin Mallard gave them the lead on the night in the 11th minute as she drove into the box, weaved around Bayern keeper Ena Mahmutovic and struck the ball low into an empty net. United, in this competition for the first time in their history, stayed so strong defensively for about 80 minutes of this game as Bayern captain Gladys Vigersdottir scored a header and Linda Dahlmann fired the ball into the roof of the net 5 minutes later. They look set to face Barcelona in the semi-finals, who lead Real Madrid 6-2 in the first leg of their quarter-final. The Red Devils will be kicking themselves as they didn't capitalise on the array of chances that they had in the first half. In the last 3 weeks, their season has fallen apart. Were toothless in the League Cup final against Chelsea and now out of Europe, and were just hammered 3-0 by Manchester City over the weekend in the Women's Super League, meaning that as things stand, they will not qualify for the Champions League next season. They've struggled with injuries, but has manager Mark Skinner taken this side as far as he can? Full-time, Bayern Munich 2, Manchester United 1. Bayern win 5-3 on aggregate.
Thank you, Angelina. And by the way, if you want to give us a call, it's the same number, 03717 223344. You can also send us a message via WhatsApp to that number, and you can text us on 81089 as well, because I'm sure some of you want to text in and give us a message with your views on it. But yeah, for me, as I was saying, Ashley Williams, who's with us this evening, we have to be realistic about where this England team is right now, and to be overly critical of them, to me, is harsh, because I just don't think they are where they need to be the side that we want to see going to the World Cup.
Well, I've got that. I think you've nailed it, and I've got it down. And my biggest question, I don't know if you can answer it or someone out there can answer it, but what is the thing about England needing to win the World Cup? Like must win, like
60 years of hurt.
I understand that, and I know I get that you want to win as a fan. I get that you want to win. You'd like to win. You're going in there with expectations. You don't want to lose. I get it. You don't want to get knocked out in the semis. That's not okay. Like, do you know?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But this kind of attitude of, well, we're going and we must win. On what basis? Where does that argument come from?
I think it comes from watching some of these players in the Champions League, in the Premier League, against the world's best, being able to perform at a high level.
But then I'm going to counter that and say, where in this England team are the serial? Apart from Phil Foden, where's the massive trophy cabinet of trophies? Like, where? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I get, like, don't get me wrong, I completely get it's different to Wales. Yeah, people are going to say that straight away. Oh, you're all right because you just qualifying's enough. Yeah, it was different, complete different situation. But why do you think it's win or bust in terms of you? I don't get where that's...
You bring in a manager, you basically give him £1 million a month. You know, his initial contract, I know he's extended now.
It's not bad, that, is it?
Yeah, to go to the next World Cup, I think it was 10 million quid for 15 months' work from his first game to what would be his last game if he won the World Cup, is incredible. But that suggests we believe this squad can go and win us the World Cup, right? So I think for England that have been building as well, getting to Euros finals, I think the game that we lost in the quarterfinal at the World Cup against France was one of England's actually best performances in recent decades against one of the favourites at a tournament. They played really well, could have easily won that game, just didn't go their way. Unfortunate, obviously, with the penalty miss late on. Who knows what might happen if that hit the back of the net. But ultimately, for the last couple of years, we haven't seen England play at a really top level. And I just don't understand, you know, it's a different point to yours, but I guess we agree. I don't see where the expectation comes that they should win this competition. I just don't see it, especially playing in the heat in the United States, which will change things again. So when we look at this window as a whole, it's weird. It was important in terms of analysing which players should go, which players shouldn't, how they might work under Thomas Tuchel. I can understand it, but that kind of experiment should be happening before.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be happening in your fourth and third games before the tournament kicks off itself. Those final two games, I actually don't think you get to learn much because players end the season a load with niggles, a load that want to rest or feeling fatigued. And those two matches are really just let's dust the cobwebs off after a couple of weeks of training. Actually, it isn't actually that long until the World Cup starts now because it's been expanded. So you play those two games and they're just a runaround. Let's be perfectly honest. They're keeping something in the legs for when you get to the tournament. You're not going to learn anything in those final two games, and you're certainly not going to turn yourselves into a world-beating team in those final two warm-up matches. England are just way behind where they need to be if they're going to win the World Cup. Way behind it. They knew the manager was leaving. They found that out straight away. They decided to give Lee Carsley 6-game audition. Then the manager they actually hired long-term decided he didn't want to start the job for another few months after that, and he was going to give 2 games to Lee Carsley to manage England. He then didn't have his first match for another few months after that. I probably don't point the finger at Thomas Tuchel. I point the finger at the FA. If you were genuinely serious about winning this World Cup and you wanted to bring in a world-leading manager like Thomas Tuchel, it should have happened straight away. He should have had an extra 6 games and we would have been much further down the line. But you can have your say on it on talkSPORT 03717 223344, and we'll have reflections on last night as a whole with the game against Japan as well. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
The same Vinay Venkatesham, who was lauding and applauding Daniel Levy there. He blamed Levy for the club's issues at a fan advisory board meeting. Insufficient focus across the organisation on-pitch success, a lack of specialist expertise in certain areas, and insufficient empowerment of experts in others. A growing disconnect between the club and its supporters base. But 3 months before that, Daniel, I don't know how you do it.
It's like
what?
It's like wedding vows, isn't
That
it?
shows you the calibre, doesn't it? I don't doubt the man is a commercially adept operator. But the king is dead. Long live the king. I had one of those in Phil Alexander, who was a treacherous hound as well. And in this instance, you've got people...
You didn't name
not
them,
leaders. Not leaders. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. First of all,
Venkatesham?
Yeah, what a fawning, pitiful, sycophantic exhibition of absolute ghastliness. Right? Which was then spun on its head 6 months later because his new masters have suggested something different. I mean, that doesn't smack to me of any one single scintilla of integrity, does it you? For me...
Integrity or sincerity.
Yeah, I mean, listen...
And I met Vinay, and I thought he was a delightful
He's an operator.
fella.
I'm sure
But
he's an
then-
operator. I want leaders. It's not a leader. You don't run with a hare and hump with the hounds as a leader. You have definite views. Yeah, you adjust your information and you pivot. And he may well have found some awful bodies in the building, metaphorically speaking, that subsequently explain this massive sea change that he's gone on. Or, you know, he's a hired hand. And what he does is what he's told.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
We're giving you the chance to win a life-changing £20,000 completely tax-free here on talkSPORT. £20,000 straight into your bank account. Spend it, save it, splash it. It's entirely up to you. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or you can call 0343 418 7260. Lines closed 9th of April, 4 p.m. That's when you're going to need to answer the phone if it rings. It's 18 plus, UK residents only. It's a network promotion. You'll get full T's and C's at talksport.com. But for your chance to win £20,000, text the word WIN to 83338 right now. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft, the former Wales captain, Ashley Williams are with you. We're discussing the Three Lions after England's disappointing defeat against Japan last night. If you want to give us a call, 03717 223344. What do we learn from this camp? Who's played their way in or out? Should Thomas Tuchel have developed this team more by now? Or are England possibly sleepwalking towards a poor tournament in the summer? You can share your views on it. You can drop us a WhatsApp as well on 03717 223344 or text us on 81089. Let's get straight to your calls. Gabby is an Arsenal fan. Is he Brazilian? Gabby, good evening.
Well, I'm one of the Gabs. I'm just not Brazilian. That's the problem, Jerry and Ash. How are you both?
I'm doing well, and I feel okay about England because I'm looking at England as a side that they're developing very, very slowly and might have a great Euro 2028 and win it on home soil. But with this manager, I just don't feel like they're prepared enough for this summer. That's the truth.
Do you know what, Hugh and Ash? I'm going to put it bluntly, and I'm going to just put a few facts that I look at and think of. I don't think it matters. Full stop. I don't think these games matter to anybody. It maybe matters to the fans that have paid probably 50 to 100 quid to go and watch the games, thinking they're going to see more than they are. But missing that quartet of Declan Rice, Saka, Noni, Eze, and obviously Harry up top and other players, it's a completely different animal that's going to be out there playing in the World Cup. Now, the other factor I think you've got to take into consideration is that a lot of these players that are playing, they're actually playing for a potential position. But look at what they're going to be doing with their clubs at the moment. How many of these players are fighting on a certain amount of competitions? The Arsenal guys, for instance, they're still fighting for 3 competitions. Why would you want to put yourself out, pick up an injury, and ruin the chance of winning a trophy with your club?
Well, but I hate to interject, but I don't understand the relevance. All the Arsenal players are watching on telly.
Well, Benny White was there, but do you know what I mean? It's that scenario with a lot of the other players. You know, Cole Palmer, he's still technically fighting for...
But those players are actually fighting for a place at the World Cup. So they should be giving it everything.
Are they, though, Hugh? Really? Honestly, are they really? I mean,
what do you think, Ashley?
No, I'd be interested, Gabby, to know what you would do with these 2 games. Then would you scrap the games? Would you just play like a B team and just make it obvious? Because I do understand your point of players have got something to play for when they go back to their club side.
I mean, Ashley, you said it yourself when you geared up for, as you said earlier, when you geared up for these friendlies that meant nothing. It didn't have any bearing on what you were doing. It was like, and how can you expect fringe players to, I know it sounds crazy, but how can you expect fringe players to really go and put themselves out when half the squad that's going to be going to America are not even in the squad because they're all withdrawn or injuries? And we might have played a bit of dark arts with that with the Arsenal, but you know, I'm gutted if we're losing any players on the run up to and I'm personally thinking as much as I'd love England to win a trophy, gents, maybe Ashley's not feeling that way so much, but in my eyes, it's like I'd rather my club do well and get a couple of trophies and not be sung second again, ole, ole. I want that Premiership title. I'm not bothered about England winning it.
Gabby, thank you very much for your call. These Arsenal fans hijacking every conversation. We get it. You're going to win the title, all right? Congratulations in advance. It was interesting because you mentioned Cole Palmer there and this element of players that are, you know, some are more focused on what's going on in the league because they're fighting for big things. He actually mentioned the likes of Cole Palmer. Phil Foden probably still going for the Premier League. FA Cup, big game of the weekend as well for Manchester City. Do you think that would have affected any of the players in the England squad, that actually there are kind of bigger things for them to be fighting for with their clubs?
No, and I'll tell you why, because you might be thinking that beforehand, the day of the game or whatever, but as soon as you get into it, the game, when this game kicks off, you just get into it. I mean, we've seen Phil Foden be on the other end of a nasty tackle against Uruguay, and I think he saw that coming and tried to read it and pull out a little bit, which is fair enough, and he still got caught. So you can't play. It's almost impossible to play football saying I don't want to get injured or I'm cruising, I'll save energy. Once the adrenaline gets going, you're just into it. But I think for the likes of Foden and Palmer, I mean, we don't know. Has Thomas Tuchel told them they're in? I don't know, so I'm not privy to those conversations. But you know, you'd expect them to be playing to guarantee that they go.
I think they're 2 players that have probably played their way out of the World Cup squad.
Do you think?
Phil Foden for sure. Absolutely. I don't think he's going to be going this summer. Cole Palmer, very much on the fringes. He's going to have to play well for Chelsea between here and the end of the season.
I think Palmer goes, definitely. And going back to my other point before, Phil Foden's the one that has been in teams that have won loads of stuff. Yeah. And that's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head in that England squad that is a serial winner. I can't disagree with what you're saying, which is bizarre, isn't it? Because he's not old. He's of a good age. He's just had a tough season.
Player of the year a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, I know. But the game, when I watch the England games, it's just his form as from Manchester City.
That's what it looks like. England. I love Phil Foden as a player, but right now in his position, to be honest, the other players' form is beginning to tail away as well. Palmer hasn't played great. Morgan Rogers, who had a lightning start to the season, was unbelievable. He's been great for England as well. His form's starting to tail away a little bit, as is Aston Villa's, to be perfectly honest. But the one person who you'd say has played the worst is probably Phil Foden.
Yeah.
And he's been given the opportunity in an England squad and he hasn't delivered. I'm sorry. If there's one thing we learned from this England camp is that Phil Foden is not going to the World Cup.
I can't... It sounds bizarre when it comes out your mouth. I'm like, what are you talking about? But yeah, you're probably right. He's not had a good season. He didn't play well in these two games. There's no doubt in his quality and what he can do. And if it was a different generation, probably might be there. But when you're stacked in that area, in that position, and you've got Eze coming back,
Bellingham's there.
Bellingham coming back, someone's got to miss out. I don't see how they take all of those attacking midfield players. Somebody has to miss out. And on the basis of what we're seeing this season and this week, the last couple of games, is Foden.
Is a false nine a plan B?
Seems to be, because if it wasn't, why didn't you play an Anthony Gordon or someone you're thinking of who does it for their club team sometimes in the striker position? He went with almost a box midfield with 2 10s, false nine, call it whatever you want. So I think that he's almost showed his hand there and said, if Harry Kane's not on the pitch and I've got all of these attacking midfielders, maybe we'll get 2 of them on and we can still keep 2 behind in Rice, Anderson, whoever it is.
When I talk about that striker department, I think we both want a name who's not even in the England squad right now to be going to that World Cup. If you've got a view and you want to share it, 03717 223344. We're talking 3 Lions. We'll also be naming our starting 11 for the first game at the World Cup with everyone being fit. If you've got a view on that, give us a text, 81089. You can send us a WhatsApp message as well, 03717 223344. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
I don't know if you saw the Italy penalties last night. Absolutely,
I did.
I didn't.
Woeful.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere in Zenica in Bosnia, I mean, they had guys with flares in the high-rise buildings next to the stadium. I mean, they gave those Italians a tough night.
Okay, Nick, look, it's easy sitting here, right, taking penalties. I've been there, Ali's done it as well. But when you see the Italian penalties, and 2 of them, one's blasted over the bar and one hits the bar.
Yeah.
You know, surely if you're going to go hard, keep it low. You've got to go low. You know, you're not playing rugby. You're not blasting it as high as you can.
Well, we saw Brennan Johnson for Wales as well do a similar thing. But one of the Bosnian players stuck his penalty in the top corner. It was absolutely perfect. So if it comes off, it's the best place to go.
Yeah, there's very few that can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, in that moment. Would you, Al, be confident?
No, I used to just whip them back across myself.
Low and hard.
Yeah.
Low and hard was
whip them.
Yeah.
Whip them back across. You take the chance. If you lift it, listen. If you lift it, it looks great. It goes in, but if it doesn't,
yeah.
Also, we're not going to see world-class keeper like Donnarumma. Still hasn't been to a World Cup, and he's been in that Italy side for a long time.
Unbelievable.
Do you know what? Mad stuff comes out when things like this happen, and you then go, Donnarumma is not going to go to a World Cup, and Ali says that's the third World Cup in a row they've missed. Mad.
And they've won a Euros in between.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not as if they've had a bad team. They've won a Euros in between.
That's mad, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. Really, I think it's remarkable.
Over the years, we've been treated to some amazing exhibition events in sports. Some become iconic, but many fail to live up to the hype. So what are some of the most anticlimactic exhibitions? Technically, it wasn't an exhibition because it ended up being sanctioned as a pro fight, but it basically was. 2024 saw Mike Tyson return to the ring to fight YouTuber Jake Paul. The event, which Paul won, was streamed by 65 million people on Netflix, making it the most streamed sporting event ever at the time. But many complained of buffering and freezing. And as for the fight itself, well, it was considered an entertaining disaster. I mean, it wasn't prime Tyson. He was 58. And after the fight, Paul, who was 27 at the time, said he'd actually gone easy on Tyson towards the end. Now, Mayweather-McGregor in 2017 was a better watch, despite Mayweather going rope-a-dope early on, but it was way too expensive. Pay-per-view was 75 quid, and in the stadium, the cheapest ticket was over 370. Now, this next one you could have watched for free, only because the pay-per-view had streaming issues, so they had to open it out. I'm talking about Tiger versus Phil in 2018, which was nicknamed The Match. Massive names and massive rivals going head-to-head. On paper, it worked. In reality, it didn't. The two players were mic'd up, so we all thought we'll get fascinating insight. We'll be able to hear them insult each other for 18 holes. But what we actually got was more heavy breathing and sniffles. And for two GOATs, the golf itself was bang average. And speaking of GOATs, let's end with Messi and Ronaldo. In 2023, an exhibition between PSG and the Riyadh All-Star 11 saw them share a pitch for possibly the final time. To be fair, it was a goal fest, which PSG won 5-4, and Messi and Ronaldo both scored. But it was obvious they were past their prime. El Clasico, this was not. And with it being in Saudi, there were more sports washing claims. So there you have it. Exhibitions that have let us down. And I didn't even have time to mention the Community Shield.
This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. The former Wales captain Ashley Williams is here alongside myself, Hugh Woozencroft. This hour, we'll continue our conversation about England. Is Thomas Tuchel to blame for their style of play? Who should be Harry Kane's understudy? And if the World Cup started tomorrow, who would be out there on the pitch? We'll also be talking Spurs from half past. Roberto De Zerbi's their new manager. Is he the right man for the club right now? Give us a call, 03717 223344. This is Kickoff. Actually, it's funny, we were talking about Phil Foden just before we break there, before the news, and seen a report from Craig Hope in the Daily Mail that Thomas Tuchel's given a big indication that it's going to be very difficult for Phil Foden to be a part of that England squad in the summer. He said, I would say he's been excellent in camp, but he struggles to show it on the pitch. He didn't have a lot of minutes for Manchester City recently. He came to camp with a brighter smile. He was so good in training. I thought he would surprise us and we'd play with the same verve and excitement, but he struggled to have the full impact. When he was asked if he could take a player who's been struggling to perform to the World Cup, he said, I can. The question would be, is if we will. He can't really give a ringing endorsement to Phil Foden after his performance last night, though, can he?
No. Well, no, we can't. But listen, you can look at it two ways. You can say, at least he's being honest and he's giving his viewpoint instead of a watered-down opinion. As a player, not sure you'd like that. Not sure you'd like it. Even if he thinks that and you had that conversation with him in private, that just, if you're Phil Foden now going away, let's book an holiday because I'm not there unless there's injuries. So he's kind of said already, I'm not taking Phil Foden. But I would like to think if that's the case, he's told the player privately before he does that interview.
Well, the headline on that article from the Daily Mail is that he has intimated to Phil Foden that it's unlikely he'll be going to the World
Well, no, that's
Cup.
fair enough then.
Yeah.
If he's told him, then fair enough. So that whole segment we just did is wasted.
I should have said the headline to begin with. But there you go. We don't know the exact in and outs from it. And obviously he must have been speaking to the media for those quotes to have come out to the written press. So what Phil Foden does or doesn't know, we don't really know at this stage, but I think he'll know himself deep down inside. It's going to be a struggle for him to make it to the World Cup. There is a part of me that has begun to wonder if Manchester City is the right club for him at the moment. It's his club. He'll want to play his entire career there and be a one-club man, absolutely. I'm not saying that they should sell him, but how long can it continue that a player of his talent is on the periphery and then doesn't really start games regularly enough to get his form back?
I can't imagine being a player of that quality and not starting, at least knowing if I'm fit, I'm going to play. You know, he can be playing good sometimes, and that's, I'd never criticise Pep because who am I to criticise Pep Guardiola? Unbelievable manager, the manager that I would have loved to have played for. But sometimes he will just, it seems to be that he just doesn't fancy playing. He won't play. And we've seen the same thing with Jack Grealish. Kind of seen the same thing with Phil Foden now. He'd get into everybody else's team in the Premier League. You know, maybe Arsenal, but I'm sure Arsenal would have him. And just for the fact that he doesn't play week in, week out, it seems bizarre to me. And that doesn't help because when you're in and out the team, you're not sure if you're playing, you feel like you've done well and you come out. It's very difficult to get a rhythm going and get, a few games under your belt where you feel like you can build up to a good performance. And all of your little relationships on the pitch, you're not getting, because I know he has a good relationship with Haaland over the years, but it does seem a little bit disjointed this season with the whole of Manchester City.
Yeah. One thing I've always said about Phil Foden is from early on, he needed to nail down a position. And the fact that he's one of those players that you're able to start. Last night, Thomas Tuchel puts him as a false 9. He plays as a 10. He plays wide. I don't think that has helped him to be a regular for Manchester City, because he's one of those players you can put on the bench, and if we need him in a variety of positions, fantastic, we'll put him on there instead of starting him in a regular way in a set position, which is probably where he needs to go next, I think, with his career.
But you do see that. You do see where a player can play very good in a number of positions. Instead of starting that player and then moving him within the game, it's almost an easy option to go, we'll put him on the bench and we can bring him on in 3 or 4 positions.
Yeah. The style of play for England, I mean, we saw, like I say, Phil Foden as a false 9 last night. That's probably the plan B, although it might not be plan B anymore after the defeat against Japan. When it comes to England's first 11, their preferred team, and Thomas Tuchel's preferred approach to games, what do you make of their style of play?
Well, I watched the game. I watched the game today because I was working last night, the Wales game, and I thought they started really bright. I know that isn't the team by any means that's going to start the World Cup, but I thought they started well in possession, very snappy in possession, although not creating anything. That is probably due to a lack of a focal point up front. But what worried me about the England team and what concerned me was the goal was a prime example of they keep possession really well and then they try and win it back quick, which they did on a number of occasions. But when they don't, it seems like the distances and the way teams can break on them, it is very easy. So whether that's a bit of organisation from the centre-backs and the full-backs knowing where to be when we lose possession, who's putting pressure on the ball, I think that's where they probably could work on and also get better at. And also the creativity. If Harry, there's so much emphasis on Harry Kane, which is fine. With Wales, we had all the emphasis on Gareth Bale to win us the game. Keep a clean sheet and he'll probably win us the game. But this is England, and you'd like to think the other players are going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and go, he's not here, I'll score 2 today. Well, I don't feel that you get that impression from the other players.
I think there's a bit of tension in the two games during this camp. But I also think, and this is maybe, England get a lot of respect. I think they deserve a lot of respect. There are a lot of good players in that England squad, and England's opponents show up wanting to do something special. We saw that when we played Senegal. For them, it was a huge fixture. It was a chance to do something that no African side had done before. And last night was an opportunity. We saw the way they defended at the end of the game. That didn't look like a friendly to me in terms of Japan putting bodies on the line, throwing themselves at the ball, trying to get the win. It meant a lot to them. We saw what it meant to their fans in Wembley Stadium as well. And for Uruguay, who haven't had a great run of late, the way their fans celebrated at the end of the game, those fixtures mean a lot. I can't criticise England for not getting themselves up in the same way that these nations do when they face England, because I think it's a big scout for those nations, and England aren't going to view their opponents in the same way. But what we then saw was obviously, I think, just a lack of intensity and aggression from our players versus their opponents in those games against sides that are ranked in the top 20 that Thomas Tuchel's seen so far. The reason I'd use the word complacency is don't believe that you can turn up at the World Cup and suddenly turn that intensity and passion and desire on. We know our players care, but to be physically aggressive in a game, to do more than your opposition, it's not a tap. You can't go hot and cold.
But do you think that when the Premier League's out the way, the lights are on, it's the World Cup, for example, use Senegal as an example, but do you think they would go into it the same against Ghana when it's the World Cup?
I think you have to understand the tension. Mark Gay said it, I think, last night, that the shirt weighs heavy. We're going back to that era of England where players are talking openly about it being a difficult shirt to wear. I think if they're in that position when they get to the World Cup, we're going to get similar results to what we saw in the previous 25 years.
So let me ask you, do you think it's different playing at Wembley for the players than playing in not away, but when it's a tournament?
Have you played at Wembley?
Yeah.
You play club football at Wembley, but do you play for England?
I played
for Wales,
England, yeah.
At Wembley.
Yeah.
How did you feel going into that versus some of the other international teams you faced? Intensity-wise, is it a cauldron? You tell me.
Well, we didn't win.
Yeah,
we didn't win.
But it's
No, it's not.
But it's not an intimidating atmosphere, is it?
It's not. It's almost like you said, for being the opponent going to Wembley. It's really nice, actually, because it's one of the most iconic stadiums in the world for anyone, not just if you're in the UK. And you go there, and it's a nice stadium, and there isn't the ultras are not going off, and it's not intimidating.
Yeah.
But I just wonder how that, if you're an England player, how do you feel playing your home games at Wembley versus maybe when you're playing in the World Cup and you've got your away fans, if that makes your travelling fans with you.
I see what you mean.
I think it might give a little
travelling fans. Yeah, exactly.
Good. If you think about in the Euros, the fans were making a hell of a lot more noise than they do when they're at Wembley.
And the tough thing for this summer's World Cup is, due to the ridiculous cost of tickets, we might not get many of those England fans that travel to every away game, obviously go to every home game as well, who are incredibly passionate. It may well have a big knock-on effect. But I still believe that the best international teams go full tilt every game. I'm not talking about the lineup, the selection, or anything like that. Even if you bring in a second-choice team, those players play like it's a World Cup final. I feel the sides that go and regularly compete at all of the, whether it's a Copa America, World Cup, Copa America, World Cup,
yeah.
I don't ever watch an Argentina game and think their players aren't fighting for a win here. And sometimes you watch England, you think, are we fighting to win this game? And I don't know. I don't want to blame the England players again last night, because I feel like they were put, everyone called it this X Factor audition. I feel like they were put in a really weird situation where it was like, well, now I'm afraid to make a mistake because I'm going to be judged and my place at the World Cup's going to be up for grabs in such a major way. I think that squad selection, when it came out, suggested it was an audition, which I think affected our players for the two games. That's why I don't want to be harsh on them. Our conversation is really getting to the nub of why we saw what we saw.
Well, I agree with that, and I think when he called a 35-man squad, and the two games, everything about it seemed like a weird international camp for England. Auditions and this is your last chance, and these kind of things don't help the players that are trying to play at all. It almost feels like it's a one-off game that isn't. It's not a semi-final. It's a friendly. but yeah, it's your cup final because you're thinking, oh well, maybe I've got to get on the plane. That's counterproductive. That doesn't help the player involved or the team or the teams. Because listen, it's like going back to when you played under nines. It's me and you up front, and we're on trial. Am I going to pass you the ball so you score? But do you know what I mean? Like you start getting into weird territory like that where you're like, I want to. Kobe Mainoo probably wants to outshine Elliot Anderson, or do you know what I mean? You get into that kind of territory which no one wants.
We're going to talk about our 11s. If the World Cup was starting tomorrow, who would start for England for both of us? So if you got a view on it, drop us a text, 81089. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp to 03717 223344. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
Tottenham Hotspur have appointed Roberto De Zerbi as their new head coach. It is a 5-year deal. De Zerbi will become one of the best paid coaches in the Premier League, and he will receive a huge survival bonus if he keeps them up. Spurs were reluctant to include any relegation clause in De Zerbi's contract, in part because of the message it would send to the players. So there ain't no clause in there. His first game in charge will be away to Sunderland on April the 12th. Thereafter, at home to Brighton, away to Wolves, and Villa, at home to Leeds, away to Chelsea, and at home to Everton. And the sporting director, Johan Lang, says De Zerbi was always the club's first choice. Simon, we've spoken about this, and now it's happened. Is this going to be a match made in heaven or hell?
Or, I mean, ultimately for Spurs, if they avoid relegation, as a result of the decisions that he makes, initially it'll be a match made in heaven. I mean, I judge him by his conduct in previous instances, and I always make the observation that if someone shows you what they are, believe them. But also, people are capable of revisiting things, changing the way they operate, and learning from their experiences. And that's the reasons why my attitude is adjusted towards Marcus Silva, because new information determines that. So my bias towards De Zerbi is not about his football coaching prowess, because we know he's a good, decent coach. Is he elite? No, I don't think he is. But is he a good one? Yeah. Is he better than Tudor? Yes. Is he worthy of being paid the third highest manager in the Premier League? Of course he's not. But Spurs have been bent over because they put themselves in a situation where they've got no choice to be able to go around and go, we are so desperate now, we'll pay anybody anything that looks like, you know, if you can go into a desert and convince us that sand is water, we'll drink it because we're in a situation where we're so desperate.
This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm going to read out some of your texts in a few moments' time. First, though, let's get an update on the Champions League quarter-final second leg. Plenty of shots going in from Chelsea. Any goals as yet in Abrahams?
No, 19 minutes gone. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0. Nurskins put one just wide for Chelsea of the right-hand post. Alicia Thompson a couple of minutes ago just wide of the left-hand post. And shots, as you say, are being blocked as well from the edge of the penalty area. But Arsenal has shown that they've got something going forward as well tonight. Katie McCabe fired just over from 25 yards out. And Russo has looked very, very dangerous in that number 10 role for Arsenal as well. Chelsea need to get this first goal. They don't need to rush it. They've still got time on their side. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0, 3-1 to Arsenal on aggregate.
Only 19 minutes on the clock there. Chelsea started very well, as Moose was just telling you, so we'll keep a close eye on that one. Ashley Williams, the former Wales captain, is here. We're going to give you our 11s in a few moments' time if the World Cup started tomorrow, but loads of you have been getting in touch on 81089. Wanted to read out some of your messages. We spoke a lot about Phil Foden. This one's from Roger. He says, let's not beat around the bush here, guys. Pep Guardiola has plain and simply ruined one of the great English talents by not allowing Phil Foden to flourish in his best position and then outcasting him. The poor kid doesn't know which way to turn at City anymore, and now he seems lost in an England shirt too. This one says, it's got to be Welbeck, Danny Welbeck. Best form of the lot. He hasn't been in this England squad, by the way. By far, sharper, quicker knows where the back of the net is. He seems to be getting better with age, if anything. That's from Frank in London. Chris says, regarding England and their lineup last night, we're playing a friendly, there's no Harry Kane, and instead of picking another out-and-out striker, we play a midfielder. That's embarrassing. What message does that send to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ollie Watkins, Danny Welbeck, etc., that we'd rather play no one up front than play one of you? It was a friendly, for goodness sake. What better time to give these strikers minutes? We're winning nothing, says Chris at the end of it. William's a Millwall fan. We need to stop playing Mickey Mouse countries in friendlies. Uruguay and Japan, I have to say, are pretty decent nations to be playing in friendlies. As soon as it comes... Oh, I see what you mean. He's not talking about those games. He's saying in our other friendlies, we need to not play Mickey Mouse countries because as soon as it comes to a top 20 country, England struggle, like the two games we've just played, and that's not acceptable. I agree, Foden should not be on the plane. He's never shown up for England, says this. He's a waste of time, and if he takes him, we won't make the last 16, says Jeff in California. So there you go. Plenty of texts coming in this week, this evening. Sorry, I haven't read out more a little bit earlier on. We wanted to talk about Danny Welbeck. One of the messages there touched on Danny Welbeck. Earlier on, we were having a chat about who would be our understudy, and both of us said the same player, the man from Brighton. Why would you take Danny Welbeck to a World Cup?
Why not? Is a good answer for that, because he's had a good season with Brighton. Yes, he's not going to start. If Harry Kane starts, you're not asking him to play all the games, but I think he's the natural player to play in that position. It would have been great to see him yesterday play for England. I think his experience, his leadership, what he's like around the camp is important, and then on the pitch, he'll deliver. He can score goals. He can hold the ball up. He can run channels. He can do a bit of everything. Why he's been overlooked, I'm not sure. I know you're pulling for Danny Welbeck as well, and probably a bit confused as to why not.
I can't imagine that England would be better off playing a false nine than playing Danny Welbeck as Harry Kane's understudy. For me, and he's no Harry Kane, obviously, he's one of the best strikers in the world, but his all-around game is the most like Harry Kane's. I don't see the idea that you build a side designed to get the best out of a number 9 like Harry Kane because he's so good, and then if Harry Kane's not on the pitch, you rip up the script completely, as opposed to just playing another number 9. I just don't understand why that would be in any way sensible. And I think you need different options as a number 9. I would take 3 out there. So I would take an in-behind option. So, like Ollie Watkins, again, hasn't played well, but we know he likes to run in behind, a player like that. If Dom Solanke can still do that, and I know he hasn't played well for England, the opportunities he's got. But for me, it's probably Watkins, Welbeck, and obviously Kane. I don't see how you take fewer than 3 strikers in a 26-man squad, because obviously if you get one of them injured, or 2 of them injured, God forbid, I still think you need someone that can score your goals, because goals win matches ultimately.
And would you, like, Anthony Gordon's played down
I don't think England need a false 9.
Marcus Rashford's played down the middle, but you'd prefer... I think you get more out of Anthony Gordon, Marcus Rashford, all the players, Palmer, everybody, Eze, all of them, if you've got a focal point that occupies centre-backs.
I just don't understand this. I've heard so much conversation this week around, are England not developing number 9s, and where are all the number 9s gone? England have more number 9s than most of the big nations going to the World Cup. We're talking about, with respect, he's had a very good season at Brentford, scored his first goal for Brazil last night, but Igor Thiago getting called up by Brazil. Might be Richarlison playing as a number 9, who hasn't had a great season either for a country like Brazil. Argentina have a fantastic forward in the shape of Julian Alvarez, who some might say is not a classic number 9, scores his goals, obviously, but isn't a classic number 9. France play Kylian Mbappe, who's not a classic number 9.
Well, it's gone.
Down the middle.
The number 9 position.
England have more options there than most of these.
I think on a broader scale, the number 9, the old traditional number 9 player has gone out the game anyway. So we almost can't keep looking for that if they're not there. But in England's case, there is a couple there. There's Harry Kane, there's Danny Welbeck. Like you said, if you're going to change the style a little bit and you want to stretch a team, and why wouldn't you stretch a back line if you've got all these 10s that we've been talking about all evening? If you want space there, stretch them. Let Ollie Watkins, he doesn't have to get the ball, but as long as he's making that run, the defenders have to honour it, drop deep, then you get space in front of them for all of your probably more talented technical players to get on the ball.
Okay, all right. Our England conversation comes down to this. Ashley Williams, you're going to go first. If the World Cup started tomorrow and you're in Thomas Tuchel's shoes, who would be your starting 11? A Welsh hero.
I have
picking the England starting 11.
I have to. Cheers. I have to say, depending on the opponent, but I'm going to just give you my 11. Okay, Jordan Pickford in goal, Reece James right back, Mark Gay. I'm gonna say, listen, I'm between Konsa and Harry Maguire. I'll be honest, but I'm gonna say Harry Maguire.
Okay. I went for Konsa. All the rest the same, but I've gone for Konsa.
O'Reilly left back.
Okay, I've gone for Lewis Hall.
Okay, Rice, Anderson.
Yep. Number 10, the big number 10 position.
Listen, I've previously said Eze, but I'm gonna change that now and go in the World Cup. If you're playing your 11 to win that game, I'm saying Bellingham, Harry Kane up front, and then Bukayo Saka.
Okay. Well, who's your wide player on the left?
I've gone Rashford on the left and Saka on the right.
Okay. So we've virtually got the same team. We're nearly the same team. A couple of changes in defence. Harry Maguire's one that came up a lot during this England camp.
Yeah.
He's done himself no harm.
I thought he had a good camp. And even last night, because he has that ability at set pieces, like he got one was cleared off the line, if I remember rightly. So he's a threat in that box. I think probably he's not as talented in possession as Ezri Konsa, maybe he's not got a bit of the same ability as him. But you've got Mark Gay next to him, one side. You've got Reece James the other side. I think with his experience, his aggressiveness, his height in the boxes, which ultimately, like I said about last night, England were good in spells in the middle of the pitch, great, but they didn't create any chances. And then when it came down to defending, they got stuck with the Matoma goal. I feel like Harry Maguire's probably not as good in the middle of the pitch and generally in the game as others. But when it comes down to defending that box, last 10 minutes of a game, or even the opening 10 minutes of a game where you want to set your stall out, and on set pieces, if you've got Declan Rice delivering the ball, well, Harry Maguire's going to go and meet that, and he scores goals for England. He's got a good record of scoring goals, so that's why I would probably put him in now. I've gone for O'Reilly instead of Hall. I've got no issue if Hall played. He's an excellent player. He's had a great season, but I just think probably O'Reilly edges him out. And we picked the same. Everyone else the same.
So there you go. So in terms of a settled starting 11, I think most people in the country would name probably 8 or 9 of those with a couple of changes, like we had a couple of differences. But I just don't think that team is yet settled playing together under this manager and knowing exactly what he wants. Given time, I think that's going to be one of the best teams in world football. In, 11 weeks' time? I don't think it will quite be at that point. That's the truth. Anyway, appreciate all of you who got in touch in the conversation on England. Sorry to put you through that.
That's all right. No issue. I've got no issue on it at all.
We're going to get to Tottenham Hotspur straight after this. Roberto De Zerbi, the new manager. Is he the right man for right now? Spurs fans, give us a call. 03717 223344.
Tuchel was asked about Arsenal's 10 international withdrawals, including Rice and Saka. He admitted he understood the look of it, unquote, but defended his England duo over their injury issues, revealing Rice has been playing, quotes, at 70% for some time because of his continued discomfort. Tuchel says everyone can do the math, and it's a lot of players, of course, and during this situation, it looks a bit suspicious. He says, I understand the look of it. I still have 100% trust in the honesty of Saka and Declan. We did medical tests. I saw them. I've no reason to believe that Declan is not honest with me. I've no reason to believe Bukayo is not honest. Asked specifically which injury Rice was nursing, Tuchel said, I'm not sure if I want to give it away. I think Arsenal wouldn't be happy if I gave it away. But he feels a discomfort for a while. He's playing through it. Tuchel said it was up to Arsenal, Danny, to decide for themselves how much risk they're taking by playing Rice. And he added, I'm not willing to take this risk for my key player. I mean, at the business end of the season, and this is where we're at, do these situations call for a common sense approach from international managers like Tuchel?
Yeah, common sense sounds. I think it makes absolute sense that if he's got one of his best players saying they're not quite fully fit, go and rest up, go back to your club. I think that's he's looking after himself. He's looking after his squad. He's doing the right thing by the player.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft alongside Ashley Williams, the former Wales captain, the former Everton and Swansea man as well. We're going to talk about Everton a little bit later on in their push for Europe too. But we're going to talk about Tottenham Hotspur next. Of course, the big news of the week is they have a new manager. They have a new manager on a 5-year deal to hopefully get them out of a huge hole in terms of being outside of the Premier League relegation zone right now. He's actually become, though, the Premier League's third highest paid manager. He's been out of work since leaving Marseille in February. He is said to have been Spurs' first choice to replace Igor Tudor, and they've got him in. Remember, of course, he's the former Brighton boss, and he had a good reputation here. 70 Premier League games, 26 wins, 19 draws, 25 defeats, 1.39 points per game, a win rate of 37%. I think we're very familiar with Roberto De Zerbi. I think there's a strong argument he improved as a coach when he went to Liga, which was a bit of a surprise to many, but good recruitment. He took the club high in the league. He got them to the Champions League as well. And he comes to Tottenham, as you have to say, I think, Ashley, I don't know about you, I think it's a bit of a coup given where they are in the table right now.
Yeah, and you like questions earlier on in the week were like, what's changed? You know, like he'd already said, I'll come in the summer. I don't really fancy it now. Well, he's the third highest paid manager in the league, so I know exactly what's changed.
But, a million reasons why he may have changed his mind, yeah.
And listen, right, if you're Tottenham Hotspur, this is the buck stops it. If you're Tottenham Hotspur and he becomes available and he lets it be known, I'm willing to come now, you have to go and get him. With the current managers that are potential managers that were available, you have to go and get him. And what will be at that point. They couldn't have kept Igor Tudor because I think they were definitely nailed on to go down. The others are a bit of a risk, just as Roberto De Zerbi is a risk, but it's less of a risk because you know his pedigree as a manager.
It's an interesting one because I think he is the right manager for Tottenham. Is he the right manager for Tottenham right now, given where they are in the table? I'd probably, even though I believe they'll stay up, I'd probably say it's a huge risk. I think for the longer term, given the players they have and if they can all get back fit, the way that he likes to play football, the development that he's had with young players in particular, some very talented youngsters in the Tottenham squad, I think he'd be almost ideal for them. And I know people keep talking about his temperament, etc., and the fact that he doesn't last that long at clubs, but ultimately I'd say he's done a good job at most clubs and left them in a better position than when he arrived. So I think he is a very good coach. He might not be everyone's cup of tea. Is he the coach for a relegation battle? I'm not sure. I still think they will stay up. I still think they'll get the 2, maybe 3 wins they need to stay up, and there will be 3 worse teams in the Premier League than Tottenham this season. So in a way, it's like, well, why wait until the summer? But if it goes wrong, well, there's the argument of who else on top of it. Who else was going to come in and save Tottenham at this time? So,
and that's what I mean. It's just once they would have received that phone call to say he's actually available now, he's interested, you just got to press go. You've got to take him. And his start, speaking to people from Brighton, they said that he's very enthusiastic, he's very in your face, he drills home what he wants all the time, very meticulous, and he just drills and drills and drills. The training sessions are very similar, very samey, but he just because he wants to get it right. Well, actually, when I hear that, I go, okay, so he's got a bit of time to work with the players. He's going to drill home what he wants. He's not had a good record when he's gone into teams mid-season before, but that's fine because he's probably learnt from that. And the situation was different. It wasn't, you've got 7 games to save this club. So he's going to go in there, and maybe for Tottenham players, they are going to say, finally, we have a clear plan. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's clear what the manager wants from us. He wants us to do X, Y, and Z, and that is what we need to do.
How long does it take for a manager to get their messages over?
Normally more than a couple of weeks, I'll be honest, especially if it's very particular. Like if it's a manager that says, listen, we're going to put the ball in this area and we're going to flood that area and we're going to get second balls, then we're going to put it into the box. We're playing on percentages. It's a lot easier to do because the thought process has gone. The way he builds, the build-up play that he does, it's going to take a while. And it takes players with confidence in possession, which Spurs definitely aren't at all. Their confidence is rock bottom at the minute. So he's going to have to get that in quickly. Now, that will come by having more touches of the ball, seeing it work, what they do in training, then go into a game, and then you start thinking, actually, this works, what the manager's talking about. Then your confidence grows and you can do it more and more and more. But he's going to have to work quickly and efficiently to get that into a squad that are just so low on confidence right now. That's my concern is, he wants them to be comfortable in possession. He wants them to build up the way he wants them to, with certain triggers and certain angles and certain distances. Can they take all of that on board?
So the message is to keep it simple in the early stages. And
I don't think he will. No. I can't see him completely flipping his manual and going, right, you're in this situation, because he's not coached that before. That's not his style. So he'd be brand new to it as well. So he's going to have to go with what he knows, and they're going to have to jump on board with it as quick as they can, the players.
In a way, it's a fresh start. And like I say, I think Tottenham's quality at the moment is probably going to be in forward areas, although those players haven't been delivering. Their defence hasn't played great either. So you might want to rest on, actually, let's take the game to our opposition and try and get a couple of goals in front. And maybe that's the way for Tottenham to get out of this. But I feel like I feel like he could be a very successful manager at Spurs. They just need to get over the end of this season. Have you ever in your career had a manager come in so late to a situation? I don't know if you were ever struggling at the bottom or and the manager's just, for whatever reason, left this late in the season.
I can't remember that happening. Something similar was Michael Laudrup went and Gary Monk took over, but it was different because he was a player.
Yeah.
So he had a really, I don't want to say easy, but he had a pretty simple task of just knowing what weren't working and what the players wanted, because he was one of us. So he just literally did what we wanted to do, and him as well. So that made it easy. But no, I've not been in that situation. The positive is, like I say, if he comes in and says, right, boys, we are doing this, and makes it really clear, then that's easier to deal with. And also, the way he plays, it gives players, the forward players, more time and chance to get into better positions. So because they're keeping the ball in their own half for a little bit, and they'll wait for the time that he wants them, when someone moves out of position, that might work for Spurs. That might give the forward players a bit more time and space, and they start to enjoy the ball a little bit more.
I've got to say, I don't know how the Spurs fans are feeling listening to that, because there's butterflies in my stomach with the idea that this current Spurs team are going to try and keep the ball as much as they can close to their own goal, which obviously has not been working for them.
No, but then the difference is, were they just making it up? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean in terms of that? Were they keeping the ball close to their own goal because they didn't have no options? Or because now they've got a clear strategy of why they're doing things, when to do things. If he can get that message across quick enough, they will understand why they're doing things, instead of just, I don't know what they was told before. I could never figure it out analysing a Spurs game. I couldn't see any patterns or what they was trying to do at all.
If he does come in, changes things, brings in new ideas, obviously there's going to be a bit of a bounce within the squad, just in terms of, right, we've got some new information here and something for us to take out on a Saturday. If it doesn't work in the first couple of games, they lose the first couple of games, Sunderland away, I think, Brighton at home, does he lose the faith of the squad that quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, it can happen that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's on results, isn't it? And it's on... Okay, so let's say he doesn't get the result, but the performance is a much improved performance and it's really good. That's fine. I think as a player, you can say, if we play that game 9 times out of 10, we'll win that game. Yeah. So it's not just the result, but if they don't get the performance and they don't get the result, these players that are already probably a little bit... not sure, not knowing where they're going. I can see that happening straight away again, just as it did with the last manager.
It's a tight month for them, but they've only got 3 games. It's tight in terms of the table. Sunderland away, as I mentioned, Brighton at home. They then go to Wolves, and then 2nd of May, a trip to Aston Villa. Huge game at home against Leeds. It's Chelsea away, and then Everton at home on the final day of the season. Like I say, I've been confident for a long time that Tottenham will not get relegated. I know how badly they're playing. I think they're more than good enough to pick up the points that they need. It sounds crazy coming out of my mouth, that's why I hesitated, but I still think they're good enough. If they can find a couple of performances, I think they've got good enough players to get them the points they need to get out of it. But how are you feeling about their running?
Before the change of manager, I thought they was doomed to relegation. Now it's more of a case of we'll see now. That definitely gives me more hope for Spurs. And if I was a player in that dressing room, if those games, not necessarily even the teams, because we've seen the likes of Wolves pick up points against teams that you wouldn't expect, but just with that amount of football to be played, I'd still feel confident in my chances. I would say we can get maybe 3, 4 wins out of this. Surely if we can't do that, then we deserve to go down, lads.
Spurs fans, I want to hear from you. Do you feel you're going to be staying in the Premier League? Has Roberto De Zerbi's appointment encouraged you that much? Or are you still concerned that actually you've brought in maybe the right manager, but at the wrong time? Give us a call, 03717 223344. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
wanted to talk about Marc Cucurella, actually,
Yes.
because twice in 2 days he's hit the headlines. He was talking about saying that it would be so difficult to turn down Barcelona if they called, but he's now criticised the sacking of former manager Enzo Maresca and the club's transfer policy. On the sacking, he said, the moment Enzo Maresca left, it had a big impact on us. If you asked me, I would not have made this decision. Not positive if you're Liam Rosenior reading that, is it?
I don't know what's going on at Chelsea, my former club. I don't know.
There's a few players now, isn't there? Cole Palmer's been linked to a move. We've got Cucurella, obviously Enzo Fernandez with Real Madrid.
Well, let's get it right, okay? And Ali, jump in on this. You've been a manager. One of your Rangers players, is quite vocal about he'd love a move and the previous manager was better than you. How are you going to react to that?
Oh, he's getting the curly finger. Yeah, come here, you. Office. Oh, he's getting the curly finger. I need a word with you. Sit down there. It's got
You wouldn't do it, would you?
No. I think it's disrespectful.
Absolutely.
Right. I think it's disrespectful. I really do. I mean, you don't want the manager coming out and saying, right, I'm going to get rid of him straight away when I come in. That you can't have it that way either. There has to be a mutual respect, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how the questions came about. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Particularly in international breaks, right?
Yeah, they go away and they
exactly. And he's maybe sat down at a press conference and been talking about the game, and then somebody's went, right, bang, have some of this. And they're not, I'm saying they're not smart enough. They should just go, look, I'm here on international duty. I don't want to be talking about Chelsea. I'll talk about my national team. That's the easy answer. That's the get out. I'll talk to you about Chelsea the couple of days before my next cup game, my next league game. But I'm here on international duty, and here's how it is.
I am gonna win this fight and I'm gonna walk off and go home.
He's gonna throw everything in the kitchen sink at me. He don't care where he hits.
Derek Chisora, how did he find the punch? Derek Chisora proves he still has the power.
Thou shalt not pass.
That is why Deontay Wilder is so exciting.
I don't think this fight will go past 8 rounds or 6 rounds.
He's not afraid. It's gonna be an all-out war.
Heavyweight season continues this Saturday right here on talkSPORT. Derek Chisora takes on Deontay Wilder at London's O2 Arena. Our expert team's going to keep you up to date throughout a busy fight week. And don't forget, you can watch along with us ringside on the night of the fight as well. It's Wilder versus Chisora this Saturday, live on the talkSPORT network and the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel from 7 p.m. And you can watch it live on DAZN as well. I don't know if you guys saw the clip today, by the way. Derek Chisora with Piers Morgan. Check it out. Check it out on the internet. I won't repeat what Derek Chisora had to say.
Can you repeat?
I can't repeat it, but he just said something that a lot of people probably would have wanted to, but never had the courage to say previously. But as I say, I can't repeat it. And anyway, Piers has probably been called a lot worse than that. So he took it, I guess, in good spirits. I guess that's the way to describe it. Anyway, let's go to our good friend. There's no link here for me. Ian Abrahams, half time.
I sincerely hope not. Arsenal 0, Chelsea 0, so Arsenal still 3-1 up on aggregate, and certainly Stamford Bridge tonight hasn't yet provided Chelsea with what they need to overturn this 2-goal advantage. Yes, they've had chances. Newskin fired wide early on, so did Thompson, who also fired over the top. Lauren James has been in and out, I think is the best way to describe the first half for her. She had an effort that was goal-bound, that was blocked. Neither goalkeeper, by the way, Van Domselaar, who Bellamy was spoken to after 90 seconds for time wasting, or Hannah Hampton have had a serious save to make. At the other end, Ford and Smith have both had shots blocked. But at the moment, Arsenal will be by far the happier. They're 45 minutes away from a place in the semi-finals, the holders. It's Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0, 3-1 to Arsenal on aggregate.
Hugh Woozencroft and Ashley Williams with you on Kickoff this evening. We've been discussing Roberto De Zerbi and whether he's the right manager for Spurs right now. Let's go to your calls on 03717 223344. Martin is a Tottenham fan. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening. How are you guys doing?
Very well indeed. How are you feeling about your new manager?
Do you know, I'm actually kind of delighted that he's in the door. And I think there's one question I wanted to ask. I think there's a massive difference between having a manager that's signed on, like, you know, it's for a 5-year deal or whatever, rather than having another interim manager. Because if you get players who are playing for someone that they know is only going to be there for another few games, and it's like you said before, if you know, somebody was come in for the 7 games and they lose the first 2, everybody's heads dropped again, and you know. So whereas De Zerbi, yeah, I feel like even if he loses all 7 games, which is unthinkable but likely, he's still going to be there next year. And you know, if I'm like Archie Gray, or maybe, you know, if I'm Richarlison, I'm kind of fighting a bit more. What do you think? Do you think that's fair, or a bit kind of? What do you think?
No, good point, Martin. I think that we see so many interim managers these days. And I've been in dressing rooms. I know our players think. They think, it doesn't really matter because I'll outsee this manager anyway. So for the club to say, no, this is the manager. This is who we're going with, regardless. All these players now know that he's in control. So now we have to play for him. There's no... Unless you want to leave, for example, and you think you know he doesn't fancy you and you're gonna get sold and you're not performing, there is sometimes an element of it doesn't really matter because this manager's gonna be gone anyway. We'll outsee him. That core, you know, the core group of players and the ones that aren't performing this season, the ones that we expect more from, they might be just saying, if, for example, if they put in an interim manager, we don't really care because we're in control of this place. Well, no. Roberto De Zerbi is now in control.
Martin raises a really good point as well around players' likelihood of staying at the club if the unthinkable happens and they are relegated, knowing that Roberto De Zerbi would stay as manager in the Championship, which has been widely reported. How big is that for a manager of his calibre to commit to?
Yeah, no, it is. Listen, if they do go down... I am a little bit interested to see if he does stay. I know he's reported to be. There's no clause, I don't think, that he can leave. I'm surprised he'd want to, you know, or not. He would want to because he doesn't want to, but he'd be willing to manage in the Championship. But he obviously backs himself. He backs the club. He backs those players in there. He probably thinks I can hold on to a certain number of those players. There's definitely going to be some players, international players, that would say, "I'm not playing the Championship. I want to go." And he might be quite happy to go, on you go, I'll bring in somebody else. But it's a good statement. It's a statement of intent from Tottenham Hotspurs. I like the way they've said, no, we're not hesitating anymore. Obviously, there was a sensitive situation around Igor Tudor. They had to wait a little bit, which is correct. And I'm glad they did that. And then they made their decision and they said, this is our guy and we're going to go along with him regardless of what happens. And all of you players and the fans, you've got to get on board with us because this is our man, and it sounds like the fans now have if you're unhappy still, well, you need to get over it because you've got a really good manager in there.
It would be remarkable if Roberto De Zerbi were to stay at Tottenham should they be relegated. But on Martin's point, I think it is a good one in that if you're one of those young players in the squad who, you know, I don't feel like, as much as he's very highly rated, the likes of Archie Gray would leave the football club if they were to be relegated. The likes of Wilson Odobert, even a player like Matisse Tell, who's been at Bayern Munich, but again, hasn't torn the Premier League apart by any stretch of the imagination. These players still have a little bit of learning to do. And although they might say, on one hand, I don't really want to play in the Championship because I want to test myself against better players, the fact that a coach as good as Roberto De Zerbi is going to be the person teaching you on a day-to-day basis, I think those players kind of go, well, actually, there is something to be learned, even if we are playing at a lower level. Yeah. And the confidence thing you mentioned a little bit earlier on as well is, I think, a big, big thing because a lot of these players, young players, have come into the Premier League, into a struggling team. I know some of them won a trophy last year, and that was incredible for them, but they finished 17th last season. It might be even lower this season. If it were to be, I think they might need a little bit of building up. And actually, I truly believe Tottenham would walk the Championship. They come straight back up. They would be automatically promoted for sure. But having a winning season like that, where most weeks you go out fully confident that you're going to be one of the key players and you're going to win games, I think that could do so much for the confidence of those young players.
Well, yeah. And what I would say about that is if it wasn't De Zerbi there, I wouldn't agree with what you just said about them coming straight back up. But now he's in there, I think they do come straight back up. But what with Tottenham, if they were to go down, it'd be devastating for the league. As a fan of the Premier League, you want to see Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League. If they do go down, I think it would give them a chance to say, right, you out the door, you out the door, you out the door. We want to keep you. We want to build it around you, Archie Gray possibly, and these types of players. And actually, you've not really done well in a Tottenham shirt for a number of seasons. Now it makes that easier then to reset and build the team that you want to build within the Championship, but looking at a team that you think can go and compete in the Premier League. Whereas right now they've got some big names in that dressing room, and they have to play them, and they're not performing.
It would be devastating for the football club financially, which is the only other. I get what you're saying from a football perspective. What's in those players' contracts, we don't know, obviously. And some of those players...
sorry to interrupt. It'd be interesting to see if there's like a relegation clause, because they couldn't have imagined... I know they finished, 17th last year, was it? But they probably thought they'd have a better season. Yeah. And they might be I'm guessing Tottenham are not thinking of putting a relegation clause in someone's contract.
I think it's prudent for every club, any club, to have a reduction in salary. But in terms of release clauses, break clauses and all this stuff, in terms of, some players might be on the verge of a contract extension, for example. You don't really want to extend some of these players going down to the Championship and what that might entail financially. You don't like the idea that it would be catastrophic for a football club to be relegated. Tottenham are probably one of those football clubs where the finances are at a position where they need to be in the Premier League. Yeah, they need to be in the Premier League. Listen, we wish Tottenham well. I agree with you. We want them to be in the Premier League. Roberto De Zerbi, the man in charge. I think he could be a fantastic manager for Tottenham over the long term. I just hope he gets the chance to do that in the top flight of English football. We shall see. We got more to come. We'll be talking about the Premier League title race, the season as a whole. Ashley Williams' thoughts on that coming straight after this on talkSPORT.
We know the bulk of his squad, don't we? If you sat down...
Well, you got the obvious ones, right?
Yes.
Of course, right? The main 11, you'd probably say almost picks itself, but then, you got to take 26, and you are going to need these players.
I don't think Harry Maguire's done himself any harm over the last two games, actually.
The number 10 position for me is scary fault.
That is not... Well...
Has Cole Palmer done enough in this England, in the last two camps, to warrant being on the plane?
This is what annoys me about you. Why the last... It's not just these last two games. It's the last year.
Well, he ain't played.
So for England, I'm talking about.
Yeah, but he's hardly played for Chelsea.
The last year, that's what Thomas Tuchel will look at. Not just Cole Palmer, all of them. It's not just the last two games. If you take the last two games...
Yeah, but Cole Palmer needed to turn up for England this two camps and stake his claim.
Yeah, and
he hasn't.
Well, he hasn't done enough. None of them have. I mean, there are one or two players you look at and think... I think, in all honesty, as I mentioned, Harry Maguire, I don't think's done himself any harm. I think Garner's done himself any harm.
Are we going to go to a World Cup with Harry Maguire and Jordan Henderson?
We might do, yeah.
I mean, we're going on like we're favourites, right? Honestly.
Who says we're favourites?
Well, everyone likes to think we are. Everyone likes to think we are.
It's all about what you do when you... I've seen so many of this. I can go back over managers over the last 20 years where this same conversation comes around. None of this matters, right? You want to go into it in a positive mood. And Stuart Pearce summed it up. This is a reality check, okay? We're a good team. We can be a very, very good team. We're not a brilliant team. But it's about getting to the USA. The two warm-up games...
We should be a brilliant team.
pads are a footballer's best friend, even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. They'd been introduced not for leg protection, but instead to give batters a strategic advantage. The idea was that batters could put their leg pads in front of the wicket if they missed the ball, preventing them from being bowled out. Obviously, that all changed when the LBW rule came in, but that was the theory behind them. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons, though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB, though. That's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft and Ashley Williams are with you. The former Wales captain is here. This hour, should you be able to play at the weekend if you drop out of international camp? Are Everton on their way to Europe? What's changed in modern day defending? And we'll get Ashley Williams' view on the run-in. Who's going to be champions? Top 5? Who will be going down to the championship? All of that to come this hour on Kickoff. If you want to join the conversation, the number to call 03717 223344. We're having a little bit of a laugh during the break. As you heard in the news there, final preparations are underway for Artemis 2 to launch. Manned crew going to the moon. And Ashley Williams' first response was?
It's in my notes. Why is that news if we landed on the moon however many years ago?
I'm going to tell you now.
Go on then.
We didn't.
Oh,
this is my only real conspiracy.
Well, you said it. You said it. I'm just saying it's a long time ago. We landed on the moon, apparently.
Yeah.
And now we're making a big deal of a crew that are what? Orbiting it?
It is the slowest advance in technology over the last 60 years. Is it not?
Is it an advance? It's not even we're just going round it.
We're going again as if it's a big deal, but surely at this stage
we did land.
We should be going there on holiday, shouldn't we? 60 years later.
So apparently we landed on it. I don't know why that's hit the news.
Obviously, it's April the 1st, so take everything I say with a pinch of salt. But yeah, I've always thought this. This is nothing to do with whether it was, people talk about the no shadows or whatever and no stars in the background. No, I just think. In 60 years, technologically...
We might have gone back.
The advances that we've made should be commonplace, shouldn't it?
You'd like to think.
You should be able to book a holiday.
You'd like to think.
You know, go for a little wander on the moon.
Okay, but why have we not gone back? Can someone answer that one? I don't know.
Do you know what? We'll get more texts than we've had all night if you say, can anyone explain why we haven't gone back to the moon? We'll have every conspiracy theorist out there. We're just joking around, guys. Take it easy. But yeah, it is news, apparently, that we're going back to the moon.
Fair enough.
Would you like to go to space? Is that something?
Hell no.
No?
What for? Why?
No? Like Katy Perry?
No, thank you.
No.
I'm
Just
all
a
right.
little trip to come back down.
No way.
No?
No way. What for?
Just to see the Earth.
Why?
Because it's something that
I
you're
don't
never
want
going
to.
to. So unique.
Not for me. No, I'm not. No. Why do I want to? No, thank you.
You're not an adventurous kind of.
There's adventures and then
Bungee
just
jump?
go into. No, thank you.
No, but skiing? That's.
No, thank you.
You wouldn't ski?
I can't. I've tried. I did try. Yeah.
Tried. I wouldn't even try skiing.
You've never tried it?
I would never try skiing. No.
Why?
Anything that I think there's a potential for me to be seriously injured, I just don't try. I'd rather be safe than sorry. I read a lot of these stories in the newspaper.
You wouldn't like to jump out of a plane or something?
Never. Never.
All right.
You know, it's 1 in a million that something's going to happen to you, but sometimes you read these stories and you think...
And you might be that one.
No. I say, I'm never going to be that one. Because I'm never going to try this thing. Whatever it might be, I just think, no, never me. No way.
No, I'm with you on it. It's fine.
But space?
Oh, you'd go for that one? What?
I'd be tempted. Space. By the way, Project Hail Mary, watch that film at the weekend. Maybe that's why.
Any good? Is it any good?
Decent. One for the kids, one for the half term. Take the kids. It's a 12A.
Okay.
It's good family fun.
Oh, what? Listen, I'm interested in it, but it's not for me. I don't think I could do that.
Okay. All right. Back to the football.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Let's go.
Right. Let's talk about the running. Your thoughts on the end of the season. I mean, well, firstly, your thoughts on the season as a whole, because I know there's been a camp of people that have said, for a variety of reasons, they haven't been entertained by the Premier League this season. There are others, on the other hand, that say, oh, it might not be as beautiful, but actually there are better teams across the piece. You know, the mid-table teams in particular, maybe better than ever. And in that case, they're finding it more entertaining for that reason. How do you see it?
Drab, honestly. But what I will say on that is, as a football fan, it's not really, doesn't entertain you. The football that we're watching, you only got to look back at some of the old shows and see the old rivalries with Manchester United and Arsenal. And there's no rivalry between Manchester City and Arsenal. It's not, do you know what I mean? You don't get that fiery games. You miss all of that. But what I will say, and I've spoke on this before, is people criticise Arsenal for winning the way they win. Well, they've got a job to do. It's entertainment for us watching it, but it's their job. They don't really care about putting on a show for anybody. They want to win the Premier League, and they're going to do it any way that they can. So that's that from a player's point of view. But as a watch, it's not been great, I don't think.
I agree with you on that as a whole. I think, guys, many people have heard me speak about it before. My view on it is, and listen, we've seen numbers come out today, the amount of money that football clubs have been losing, Championship as well, the last season. I know a lot of clubs have got their results, and this has been my view for a long time. To see us in transfer windows spend more money than the other top leagues put together, and to produce the teams that we produce in English football, we have more money than sense, quite clearly. Because to produce the teams that we currently have in the Premier League, we didn't have to spend half the money that we've spent. That's the truth. To be humiliated in Europe like 4 of the teams that we had in the last, was it the last 16 or the last 8? No, must have been last 16, right? To be humiliated and concede the number of goals that they did, defend the way that they did, it should be unacceptable. And there are a number of teams, listen, we were talking about Spurs, for example, there are a number of teams that I truly think should cap the amount of money they spend per player. Because the way that they've spent money over the last 10 years, I support Manchester United. Yeah. Manchester United should cap the amount, let's just say 60 million is the maximum amount we're going to spend per player.
It doesn't actually get you what you think these days, does it? 60 million.
There are a lot of, I think the Premier League, everyone says there's a tax, etc., etc., maybe there is. But we're spending 80 million on 60 million pound players. We're spending 60 million on 40 million pound players. We're spending 40 million on 30 million pound players. Like, clubs are wasting money left, right, and centre. I don't mean to disrespect the players in the Premier League. The amount of money they've been bought for is nothing to do with them. But teams in Europe must be laughing when they pick up a phone to a Premier League side.
Oh yeah, because there is a tax on the Premier League, but I also think what a watered down product we've got now with VAR and everything. It's not the same as it used to. I think it was more entertaining before.
We're going to talk about a little bit later on the art of defending in the Premier League and talk about some of the strikers that you played against. When we look at the end of the season, let's talk about the title race and the run-in. Manchester City and Arsenal going head-to-head. Arsenal, obviously, in the prime seat right now. They've got Bournemouth at home, City away, Newcastle and Fulham at home, a trip to West Ham before they host Burnley and have Palace on the final day. One extra game to be played by Manchester City. They're away at Chelsea. This isn't this weekend, of course. They're both playing in the FA Cup, but when the Premier League does return, Manchester City will be away at Chelsea. They'll host Arsenal. They're away at Burnley and Everton. They're at home to Brentford, away at Bournemouth, and then 2 home games to end the season against Villa and Palace. When you look at the run-ins, who do you favour?
Arsenal. I think they've got a better run-in, and from Arsenal's point of view, if they can't get that done, I'll be shocked. Yeah. I'll be shocked. I think they've been brilliant all season in terms of the way they've managed games, the way they've won games. Going back to that, they've just won games. They haven't been brilliant on the eye at times. Who cares in their camp? Who cares in that dressing room? Just get it done. And now when I'm looking at the run-in, that is a favourable run-in for Arsenal. They've got the Manchester City game. They can even afford to lose that. People are talking about the final the other day. Well, you can lose that game, and I still back you to win all of the other games anyway. So, if they don't do it, I don't know. If they'll never do it if they don't do it this season.
I think it has to be Arsenal, who have a 9-point lead at the moment. Obviously, City have a game in hand. It has to be done. They've won 4 games in a row, Arsenal, in the Premier League, by the way.
And on that, if let's just say Arsenal don't do it, what do you think happens with the manager?
Yeah, I knew you'd say this.
No, what? I'm just asking.
Luke Henry came in during the break
asking
to hand us the run-ins. He's a big Arsenal fan, as I'm sure many of you know. And we said, who do you think is going to get it? And I just said, if he doesn't get it done, you got to get rid of the manager.
Wow.
You got to. But then, obviously, if he wins the Champions League, wins the FA Cup, you can support him.
Well, do you know, that's an interesting point to me. What happens if they blow that Premier League and go and win the Champions League? I wonder how the fan base feels.
I mean, your first European Cup, you got to be happy with it. I think that would, delete any kind of disappointment from the Premier League. But if they didn't, I think many of them would be saying get rid of him. You get to a Champions League final and then you lose. You give away this lead against. Imagine they get to the FA Cup final, lose. Imagine they get to the Champions League final, lose.
The meltdown would be.
They've already lost the League Cup final, and imagine they get. No way he's going to survive that. All right, listen, I think they'll win multiple trophies this year. And for me, Arteta is the manager of the season if he manages to win the Premier League as well. When we look at the Champions League positions, Manchester United on 55 points, a point ahead of Aston Villa. Liverpool on 49, so a bit of a gap there, 5-point gap. And Chelsea in 6th on 48. There's 2 teams behind them on 46 in Brentford and Everton. We'll get to Everton a little bit later on. Who do you see finishing in those Champions League spots?
As is, I think Arsenal win, as I've just said.
Yeah.
I think Manchester City 2nd. I think Manchester United finish 3rd, and Aston Villa take the 4th spot. If you're asking me for a 5th, I can't call it between
Liverpool or Chelsea.
Yeah, I can't.
You can't call that.
Nah. Can you?
Yeah, Liverpool are much better than Chelsea. They are.
I don't know. Neither of them fill me with confidence this season anyway. So, but yeah, I see the top 4 as that. I think Aston Villa will finish 4th, and I think Manchester United have been excellent under Michael Carrick and finish 3rd.
My view on Liverpool is I think they've got PSG in the next round, but as soon as they get knocked out of the Champions League, that they'll be pretty comfortable in the league after that.
Do you think they'll get in the top 4 or not?
Liverpool?
Yeah.
I don't... There's a possibility they catch Aston Villa, who've got serious injury problems. And obviously, I think it's massive for Villa if they can go and win the Europa League. I think it's massive for Unai Emery. All the good that he's done at the football club to pick up that trophy. And I think with his history with it, he'll go for that.
Yeah.
Will he rest players in the Premier League to prioritise that? That's going to be a big question. If it comes down to the fact that it's top 5 to reach the Champions League, Villa have an 6-point cushion over Chelsea. I think if that is still there, then he'll be able to prioritise the Europa League, and he will go for it. So very much depends on how the next 3 or 4 games go. But It's been tough for Villa. Villa, I think, are probably the third best team in the league on their day. I think the injuries have probably killed them in the back half of the season. It would be great to see them. I think if they can win the Europa League, we'll probably get 6th place. And then Chelsea will be excited about being a Champions League team once again. So let's see how the end of the season pans out. Bottom of the table, very, very quickly. Your views on that. If I can scroll down to the bottom of the table, I'll give you the points. We know who's in the bottom 3 at the moment, obviously. West Ham United, who are a point behind Spurs, Burnley and Wolves. And then it's 33 points Leeds, 32 points Forest, 30 for Tottenham, 29 West Ham.
I see Burnley finishing bottom, Wolves finishing second from bottom.
3 points behind them, so it's not the biggest shout.
Yeah, no, I think the Wolves have been great recently with the new manager. And then, do you know what? I'd said Tottenham, but now they've with the change of manager, it's yet to see. But I would, if you're pushing me, I'd say probably West Ham now, unfortunately, because I do think they've been great this calendar year.
Leeds are 4 points clear. I think Leeds.
Why are you saying Leeds?
I thought it for ages. You get 3 points for a win.
Many draws.
Too many draws. I think they're a very tough team to beat, but they just don't score enough goals and don't win enough matches. And I think Forest will probably pull out some wins. I believe Tottenham will as well. And I think West Ham will win a few games before he.
I think that is very interesting. That last place to go down. That's a tough one to call.
Could go right down to the wire. Final day of the season. Okay, Ashley Williams, the former Wales captain, is with us. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Labrix. It's 18+. Gambleaware.org. Up next, we will discuss his former side, Everton's chances of getting into Europe.
So tell us, Adam, what was it like working with Roberto? Because obviously you worked under some great managers, Klopp, as you know, we all know how great he was. So where do you put Roberto as a coach, and what he helped you develop your game?
Right up there with the top. I always compared him with Jurgen. Actually, probably just the passion that they both possess for the game. I think kind of tactically and game model wise, they're completely different. But in terms of like love and passion for football, they're exactly the same.
Adam, as an interest, I've got to read you a quote, if I may, from your teammate back in the day, Lewis Dunk, in 2023. He said this about De Zerbi, and I quote, "Since the new coach arrived, I see football in a completely different way." He said, but the initial transition was carnage and confusion. So I get it totally. It maybe took a little bit of time for him to get his message over. The one worrying thing for Tottenham fans, he doesn't have a lot of time to get that over, though.
No, I think listen, Roberto's an extremely smart man. He'll know that he's not got time to play a certain way, a certain style, and he won't be snobbish to not understand that. He knows he's got to go in there, motivate a group of men, and luckily for Roberto, he might not know that, but he's one of the most inspirational managers people there is, in my opinion.
Manchester United knocked out the Women's Champions League a little bit earlier on. Another English side will follow them tonight. Let's get the latest from Stamford Bridge with talkSPORT's Ian Abrahams.
Just under half an hour to go. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0. Chances at both ends in the second half. Van Domstar with a brilliant save, flying away to a left-hand side, one-handed tip over Sam Kerr's effort. Lauren James sent one onto the roof of the net as well. At the other end, though, as spaces appear, Arsenal look dangerous coming forward, and they've had a couple of chances through forward. And Russo's header, which cannoned back off Kin Little, had it not have done, it would have been in the back of the net. Arsenal still 3-1 up on aggregate. Chelsea searching here for the goals that they need. It's Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0.
Hugh Woozencroft with you, alongside Ashley Williams, the former Wales captain. We're watching Cape Canaveral. We're not going to lie to you guys. We're waiting for this trip to the moon to take off. I'm sure you can follow it with our friends over on Times Radio or Talk TV as well. We're going to talk football as well. Here's a segue. Are David Moyes' Everton side about to lift off? Get it? No, okay. Into Europe at the end of the season.
Bad one to be honest.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
It wasn't bad.
I'll give you that.
Good season so far for Everton, and maybe a surprising season under David Moyes as well, because there's a few players who've performed well this season who've had their struggles in an Everton shirt, let's call it that, but he seems to be putting together performances like we know David Moyes is all about, to be perfectly frank. What have you made of firstly, his management throughout the campaign and the side's performance?
I think he's an excellent manager. He understands football. You know, I've spent a bit of time with him, and just talking football, he gets it. And he's sometimes I think he can get he comes across as maybe a bit old school, and he's absolutely not. He's right up to date with the current trends across Europe and what teams are doing. And he as another one, he knows his style and he knows how to extract the best performance out of certain players, which we're seeing in this Everton team. I think they've had You would just be happy. They've had their trouble recently with relegation, flirting with relegation. They got into the new stadium. Let's, consolidate in the new stadium, make it our home, just stay in the Premier League. Actually, he surpassed that, and now he's in the top half, and people are asking maybe can they push for a European place. I think he and that team have done brilliantly this season.
It's an interesting point, and maybe a wider point on the league. I know we spoke about it a little bit earlier on, the kind of quality that we're seeing. There was a period of time where particular clubs got to Europe every single season and they could build a squad. Financially, they had the means to go and build a squad in terms of its depth, in terms of the finances that were going out, that was ready for Europe. What we're seeing more now is surprising teams getting into Europe, a one-off, first time in 20 years, 30 years, whatever it might be. And then suddenly being like, right, we weren't expecting this. We're going to have to either build a squad for one season effectively, hoping that we don't get relegated in the Premier League and it doesn't affect us detrimentally. Everton are doing so well. I don't think they expected to get to Europe this season. And they're the kind of club that would go, that may struggle if they have to play Thursdays, Europa Conference League, Europa League possibly, next season. That's the only concern I have. They're not going to say no to Europe, obviously. But I don't know if currently they're in a position that actually they go, we got to Europe, and next year we're going to get to Europe again because we're going to buy 5-6 proven European quality players. I don't see them as that. So, listen, once again, you're not going to say no to Europe, but I wonder if the wider plan is actually to grow steadily into that position so that when they do get into Europe, they can, like I say, go and improve the squad in ways that can be long-lasting.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think... In my opinion, it's a good thing if they don't get into Europe this year because it gives them another summer, another pre-season for David Moyes to get this team ready, the club maybe to bring people in and say drip feed them in. Don't just panic because you just got into Europe. Go and buy loads of players, or don't buy players and struggle on two fronts now, and where it was before you just concentrating on just the Premier League. I think this come a bit. It would have, if they do get there, it'd be too soon for them. I think they need another season where they can have a right go at it. I also agree. Listen, if you ask them, they would take it, obviously, because you don't want to not achieve things. You want to get there. You want to be playing in Europe. But then you look at Palace, you look at Forest. They've definitely struggled by playing in Europe this season. So I don't think Everton are ready, but I'm just happy for them that they've had a good season. There's none of that what we've seen before, where they're in the position of a Forest or a Tottenham Hotspurs, or they're not even looking backwards. They're just looking forwards.
Have you been to Hill Dickinson Stadium yet? You
I've
haven't been yet.
Not been invited.
Everton haven't invited Here's the headline, guys. It'll be in tomorrow's Sun. Ashley Williams has not been invited by Everton. Why not?
It looks great on the TV, though.
This is ridiculous. You not thought of buying yourself some tickets? Or?
No. I work too hard on Saturdays. I've got no spare time.
Oh, that's it. You were busy. Okay, all right, I understand.
But also, there wasn't an invite. I'd just like to say.
Okay. Let's talk about Swansea. Any invites to Swansea?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they love you there, do they?
Yeah, they don't mind me there.
Swansea, under Vitor Matos, had a big turnaround this season because they were flirting with relegation until he came in. He's galvanised the place. They've moved up the Championship table, pretty much mid-table at the moment, 14th in the table right now. Actually, when you look at it, only kind of 4 points off Watford in 9th. So if they have a strong finish to the season, who knows how high they might be able to get. But they're not going to make the playoffs. That's obviously very unlikely. What have you made of what he's done at the football club?
Good. Been impressed. Again, similar to Everton, it's a relief that they're not going to go down. They're not even in the mix to to worry about that. And sometimes you just need that bridging season almost when it's not worked out and you've been through a lot of managers. Now Swansea have got a manager in that everybody's backing. I think he's impressed everybody. The fans are happy with it. Yes, they haven't had a great season where they're done a Wrexham and they're fighting for the playoffs. No, I think that's okay because now he knows the club, he knows the city, he knows his players. He's got some very good players in that team, by the way. And again, he'll have a summer then to rebuild that, and everyone knows the way that he works. So I'm really confident for Swansea next season, and I've been happy enough with the way they play. I think Vitor Matos is very impressive, and he talks well, he works well, he's likeable. You can see why the players like playing for him. So for Swansea, I think it's been a good season and one that they needed before hopefully kicking on next season.
It's good, well, at least from my perspective. It will be great for Welsh football to have Cardiff back in the Championship.
Yeah.
I think they should be at least a Championship side, Cardiff City.
100%.
Doing well in League One at the moment under Brian Barry Murphy, so should be a Championship side next season. Wrexham might be a Premier League side next season. Who knows how their season's going to end, but to at least have the three of them in the second tier of English football, how important is that for Welsh football as a whole?
Yeah, massive. I think we definitely. I was in the stadium last night, and it's at least a Championship stadium and football club. So, although I played for Swansea, you want the best for Wales and for Cardiff to be in the Championship. You get the derby back, South Wales derby. That's always massive. Let's say if Wrexham don't go up, then you've got 3 Welsh teams in the Championship. That's good. That's good for Welsh football. And then going back to the international setup, it's disappointing and we didn't make the World Cup, but it all feeds into one. It all feeds into grassroots. When I went to Wales, it was a massive rugby country, and it still is. But now football's the number one sport there. So that just goes to show how important it is for grassroots football in Wales that you have the likes of Cardiff and Swansea and Wrexham doing well, and the national team doing well, and the women's team doing well. So if everybody's doing well and everybody's people aren't getting relegated and struggling, it's great for the country.
Can you imagine Wrexham in the Premier League?
No, I can't. But it'd be great for them. Like, it would be what an amazing story. Like, an amazing story. I was there the other day when they played against Swansea, actually, and that club has completely turned around with the owners and everything. It's well documented, but I think they've done it in a really impressive manner.
I listen, obviously followed Wrexham this season. Phil Parkinson's been great, and since they've come into the EFL, follow them closely, like I think most of us that do a lot of EFL football have. I still think it would be incredible. I think they will be a Premier League side in the next few seasons. But for this side this season to get to Premier League, incredible performance.
I would just like to see like Arsenal fans, Manchester United fans, Chelsea fans just going to the race course on the weekend and just go. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it would just be bizarre to see Wrexham up there. But fair play to them, man. I hope they, I hope they, from a Welsh perspective, I hope they do get promoted,
even if it's ahead of Swansea.
Yeah, no, of course, because I just want the teams in Wales to do well. Obviously, my first choice would be Swansea always, but if it's not, then why not Wrexham?
Okay, all right, that's the voice of Ashley Williams, the former Wales captain. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. Up next, we're going to get Ashley's view on the current state of defending in professional football. Stay with us.
All right, Cundy.
Hello, matey.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm okay, yeah.
Gone well?
Yes, so for those that don't know, the hair transplant last Thursday.
Yep.
A couple of days off.
Yeah.
Back in today.
You're looking well, mate. You look well.
So far.
You look hard.
Well, well, the head's been shaved, right? So there's always got the image, haven't you? Like I'm a bit of a thug.
Yeah, you look like you're going to be on like Football Factory or something.
Yeah. But look, it went well. It's such a weird process. I mean, you're in the chair for about 8.5 hours. It's all done.
I mean, that's hell for you, right? You can't.
Oh, mate. Well, they gave me. I fell asleep halfway through it. They gave me sedatives. Yes, I struggle to sit still, mate. But
struggle.
I struggle to sit.
Impossible.
Yes, but they're sedatives, mate. They work their magic. But here we go. So the big.
Mate, I like it.
Well, we'll see.
It's the new Cundy.
The new version.
The new version of.
New improved. Don't know about that.
It looks all right, mate. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, look, big shout out to the Wimpole Clinic. Thank you very much for what they did. And we'll see the results, mate, over the next coming 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
You've got to have a haircut, mate. What's the haircut look? What's the trim? You
Don't know.
Quiff?
Don't know what I'm going to go for, mate.
You look all right with the old skin.
Yes, I'm not having a hair transplant and then looking like this.
No?
I'm not. No, you don't have a hair transplant and shave your head.
All right, though.
Well, for the time being, I've got no choice. Yeah. I've got no choice. This is how it's going to be. All right, so there you go.
You're making me die.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, did it hurt? Obviously, during the operation, it's very weird, or during the procedure, very weird, mate. There was one at the back, so I had 3 people working on my head at one time, and I couldn't feel it, but I could feel them. It's a bit like when you had the anaesthetic in a dentist. You know, someone's working on doing something, but you can't really feel it.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh, Woozencroft, who's alongside Ashley Williams, the former Everton and Swansea centre-back. Let's have a look at the latest football action now with Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Well, our specialist subject tonight for Ashley Williams, of course, who played many a game in the Premier League in the centre-back position, is his view on the modern-day centre-back and what has changed for centre-halves. If you could pick out 1 or 2 things, let's see the most prominent thing that you think the difference is currently versus, you didn't retire that long ago, did you? So when you were playing?
Well, I think it was there at the latter stages of my career as well. But I think they're skipping over the basic defending. Now, some of it has been taken away by you can't make as much contact or you can't do certain things that you could do before, and VAR is a big part of that. Like, I would have been VAR'd every week, probably. But also, I think what it stems from is I've worked in academies. My kids are in academies. I've seen lots of academy training sessions, and I've never, ever, 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 ever seen a defensive drill. So I think from a young age, the defenders we're so focused on them in possession, which also is an important part, but it's so driven by what they can do with the ball and not without it. And I don't understand why, because we'll watch the World Cup this year, and you'll see it, but you can point out many reasons why a team has lost the game because a defender has defended poorly, and it'll be the basics. Like, we used to do so many drills afterwards, maybe with a coach, but specialised drills for centre-backs and full-backs. Full-backs stopping crosses, defending the back post. How to do that. You see it now. I don't think that they've been coached. It's not their fault. I just don't think that it's a priority for coaches now to show them how to clear the ball. Little things like that. We see so many bad clearances to the edge of the box, sliced clearances, giving corners away, which then puts pressure on. Defending corners, defending long throw-ins. When do you jump? When is the right time to leave the ground? When do you stay and hold your position? All those little bits aren't getting taught from a young age, and I think that goes right through, and they just miss it. Probably when they get to, under 18s, or they start going in around the first team, coaches assume they know these things, and they don't. And there's a couple of other layers to this. I think striker, we've already had this debate tonight, but there's not as many what we would class as traditional number 9s in the game, so you're not coming up against that every week. Also, before there used to be more 4-4-2. Now there's not 2 strikers. So, for example, if it's me and you at centre-back, I can take more of a risk because I know you're covering. Whereas before, I had to deal with one and you had to deal with one. I had to get it right because you're 2v1 then. So we don't see 2 strikers, and there's not many 9s. There's false 9s, there's inside wingers and false wingers, and all these different things that have evolved over the years. But actually, when you're talking about defending the 6-yard box or the box or those crucial moments in a game, I think defenders get it wrong a lot these days.
Defending against a current group of strikers in the Premier League, I mean, from the outside looking in, I'm like, that must have been easier than when you first came into the Premier League. I know Benty was walking around earlier bragging about scoring against you for England
Was
against
he?
Wales. He was.
He
was
did
telling
say that to my
everyone.
face.
He was telling everyone, I
he?
scored against this guy.
Fair
No
enough.
problem. So any stories you got on Benty, now's the time to let us know. I don't know who the most difficult strikers you played against in the Premier League were, but who were they? Who do you think they match up against today?
I can categorically say that the most difficult was Luis Suarez in terms of just his relentlessness, his aggressiveness. He just didn't give you a minute to. There's no point when you're playing against him. You think, I'm relaxed there. He's always thinking. He's always on the move. Whether his team's got the ball or your team's got the ball, he's putting himself in positions where if they win it back, he's gone. So he keeps you occupied for the whole game. I remember playing Ruud van Nistelrooy in International, and I had an headache coming off the pitch because his movement is just always somewhere you can't see him. So he'd stay offside, give you different problems to think about. The one year we played against Liverpool, it was Andy Carroll and Luis Suarez up front, or Drogba and Torres, and these types of duos where you just, for 90 minutes, Diego Costa was difficult. All these players, and I'm not. And people are going to go, dinosaur, and you couldn't play today. And that's fair, that's fine. But I don't see that kind of level of competition week in, week out. So then you can say, okay, well, how can you judge the defenders against previous defenders when they don't have the competition that maybe defenders have in the past? But I think we're missing out on that number 9 position, that typical. Yeah. I think if you've only got to look at. I don't know. Even a Fleming at Burnley, just the fact that he puts himself about a lot. A Welbeck, who's a proper number 9, getting joy this season. I think defenders, centre-backs especially, they don't face that enough to be able to deal with it. So it surprises them when they're that. Ollie Watkins, because he runs in behind, it's a problem, and he'll run in behind most of the game. It's a problem, whereas before you used to have one that would hold it up really well and one that would run in behind, so you got a double problem. So I do think that, obviously I watch a lot of football and work in it and have to analyse it every week, and just the basics of defenders, footwork on a header. Everyone thinks a header's just simple. It's not. Your feet have to be correct. You've got to take off the right foot, land on the correct foot, stopping crosses. What foot are you using? Just basic things that we got taught as kids if you was a defender. I think we're skipping over that now.
Let's head back to Stamford Bridge. The ball's been in the back of the net. Has it counted? Ian Abrahams.
10 minutes to go. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0. No, it didn't count. It was Arsenal who scored. Holmberg with a cross on the right-hand side, headed in by Black Stenius. If we had a VAR check, it was over and done with quite quickly, but the goal ruled out for offside in the build-up to the goal. Chelsea straight up the other end. Sam Kerr just putting the ball wide. To be fair, Chelsea looked like they've run out of ideas here, and Arsenal just playing to the end of the game and to get into the semi-finals, but they were denied that goal they thought they'd scored. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0, 3-1 still to Arsenal on aggregate.
10 minutes to get a couple of goals for Chelsea tonight. Looks like their disappointing season by their high standards may be continuing, but we'll be back at Stamford Bridge very, very shortly. We're talking about the change in modern day centre backs, and I know you spoke about some of the brilliant players you played against. There is a part of me that thinks the job, with the ball has maybe become so important that the academies, and I know you mentioned them strongly, you've obviously got a better experience of them than I do. I watch a lot of the EFL, obviously. I talk about it a lot. The number of players that we have in our England squad who've gone down to the EFL to learn their trade, whether on loan or whether starting their careers at that level. You played non-league before you came up, right? Yep. Do you feel that development is more important to you as a defender than academy football?
100%, because you're playing for something that matters then. I don't care what anyone says about academy football. You can win all the cups in the world.
But is that the thing that's important then? The fact that the games mean more, or the fact that the defending is different?
No, both. But because the games mean so much, so the further down the league you go, obviously wages are less and people have got it. Not saying it matters more, but it matters to these players. So when I did it the other way and came up, but when I was in the non-league, I was with grown men at 18 that would let me know and know in certain terms that what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Then League Two, then League One, and all the way up. And actually, when you get to the Premier League, it's not easy because you're playing against a better striker and a better team. But you've kind of seen these scenarios before. Whereas if you're 17, 18 and playing academy football or playing youth team football, you don't get those problems. And I think loaning the players out and letting them get a taste of what it's like in League Two, League One, Championship, where you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, getting your body right for that would be more beneficial in my opinion. And the thing with the centre backs, especially now in possession, I would like my defenders to defend. You talk about David Moyes, his defenders defend. Tarkowski, O'Brien, Keane, Brantwaite, these players are good defenders, first and foremost. Now, if they can do something on the ball, if they can split a line with a pass, that's a bonus, because guess what? You've actually got midfield players that's their speciality. So why do we want so many players that prioritise being able to play with the ball? Now, I obviously played in a Swansea team that was very possession-based, and I loved having the ball, loved playing that style of football. But also I feel like we had to defend as well. First, I always knew my job was a clean sheet. And I put my body on the line and try to block. Obviously you don't always get it right, but my primary job was to defend that goal at all costs. Now, if I can help in the build-up and help my midfielders and start attacks off, then great. But the first things first is defend the goal. And also, if you're a defender because we see it a lot, defenders aren't comfortable with the ball, even after all of this situation. They're still being asked to do it. But when there's midfielders in there that are great little midfielders, technical midfielders, give it to them and let them do their stuff, and you get ready to defend.
What's your view on academy football as a whole, on what you've seen?
England have produced a lot of good players recently, but what I get frustrated with is you take that one player out of your academy and say it's been a success. What about all the other ones? There's lots of good players in there that just get missed. They get missed, and then football clubs pay money, big money, like I was talking about earlier, to bring in a player. You look at Tottenham. Tottenham are a Cat 1 academy. How is it that they cannot produce any youngsters to come into the team? And don't get me wrong, I know they're struggling, but they weren't struggling, and they still didn't bring... I mean, they bought Bergvall from, I think, Manchester United. I think
Bergvall, I think he might have come from Scandinavia,
or wherever. But why do you bring them in? Why don't you promote from within? Are they not ready? And if they're not ready, why aren't they ready? What are you doing in there you have them every day? If I was the owner of a football club, I'd be saying, well, what's the point of me paying for an academy if nothing comes through it?
Yeah, Joe Gordon, I'm told, for Bergvall.
Where?
That's Joe Gardens.
I'm sure he was at Manchester United for a bit.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. But anyway, that's just a point. A point is,
I get your point.
They're even buying youngsters now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it seems a little bit pointless.
My view on it, we got a break now, but my view on it has generally been that I think there needs to be a list of every big club in the Premier League with money needs to have a list of 5-6 players that they have to make available for loan for free. 18, 19-year-old players.
Agreed.
That players down the clubs down the pyramid can take on without paying their salaries, because a lot of them sit at clubs playing academy football, not learning much when you get to 17, 18, 19 years old. But that's just my view anyway. And that was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Ever dreamt of playing at Anfield? Place a £5 bet builder at selected odds on the Ladbrokes app, and you just might. 25 plus, terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.org.
I'm reliably informed that Bergvall had 2 trials at Manchester United.
Did he not get in?
So there is a link.
Did he get in or did he not
didn't
get
in?
Oh, okay.
There's a link, though.
Oh, I knew.
I'm giving you something back.
Yeah, thank you.
Chelsea have hit the woodwork twice at 5 minutes to go, pretty much with time added on, and still pushing 2 goals down. We'll have full time very shortly here on talkSPORT.
The same Vinay Venkatesham, who was lauding and applauding Daniel Levy there. He blamed Levy for the club's issues at a fan advisory board meeting. Insufficient focus across the organisation on-pitch success, a lack of specialist expertise in certain areas, and insufficient empowerment of experts in others. A growing disconnect between the club and its supporters base. But 3 months before that, Daniel, I don't know how you do it.
It's like
what?
It's like wedding vows, isn't
That
it?
shows you the calibre, doesn't it? I don't doubt the man is a commercially adept operator. But the king is dead. Long live the king. I had one of those in Phil Alexander, who was a treacherous hound as well. And in this instance, you've got people
you didn't name
not
them,
leaders. Not leaders. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. First of all,
Venkatesham?
Yeah, what a fawning, pitiful, sycophantic exhibition of absolute ghastliness, right, which was then spun on its head 6 months later because his new masters have suggested something different. I mean, that doesn't smack to me of any one single scintilla of integrity, does it you? For me...
Integrity or sincerity.
Yeah, I mean, listen...
And I met Vinay, and I thought he was a delightful
He's an operator.
fella.
I'm sure
But
he's an
then-
operator. I want leaders. It's not a leader. You don't run with a hare and hunt with the hounds as a leader. You have definite views. Yeah, you adjust your information and you pivot. And he may well have found some awful bodies in the building, metaphorically speaking, that subsequently explain this massive sea change that he's gone on. Or, you know, he's a hard hand. And what he does is what he's told.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft alongside the former Wales captain Ashley Williams making his debut. Toughest debut you had?
Nah, I'm enjoying it.
No?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Oh, well, there you go. Football-wise, worst debut you've had? This is where the fans start.
What is the worst? I can't even remember the debuts. I don't know. Someone will tell me, won't they?
Do you remember your first Premier League game?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Manchester City. Monday
Home
night
or away?
football.
Monday night.
Away.
Swansea.
Yeah, they were champions at 0-0. I might be wrong, but I think we had more possession and then we was doing really well, 0-0 at half-time, in the dressing rooms, looking around, going, the champions, and we're like, don't think it's that hard. This is all right, this. Like, we're more than comfortable here. Brought Aguero on for his debut at half-time, ended 4-0.
Oh.
See ya.
What was that like, defending against Prime? Was that a Pep team? Was that a Pellegrini team?
Yeah.
Pellegrini.
Yeah. Or Mancini, maybe?
Mancini?
I can't remember,
Okay.
But it was difficult. Torre was in the team, all those players. And Aguero, I didn't really know too much about him. I just remember him coming on at half-time for his debut, and he was did he get 2 or 3 in that game? I can't remember how many, but he definitely scored a couple.
Yeah.
It's just so difficult. And that was like the welcome to the Premier League moment. Yeah, because at half-time, honestly, we was saying, like, I think we'll be all right. And we was all right. We didn't get relegated. But it was like, geez, after the full 90, you was like, okay, well, that's the level.
Yeah. Who else was in that team? Do you remember I know you spoke about Suarez earlier, but those early experiences in the Premier League, do you remember the toughest players that you were going up against?
Well, he was one of them. Yeah. Trying to think.
I just can't imagine being on the pitch with like a Yaya Toure, prime Yaya.
Yeah, it was difficult. Chelsea were good. Chelsea were fully loaded, like a Hazard, for example, though he's not a striker, but he just dictated the whole game.
Who was your manager at the time for Swansea?
Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah. What was it like coming out of the Championship? In terms of prepping for a match, I'm always intrigued by this. How much does it change having to plan to face Premier League players versus Championship players?
It doesn't, if that makes sense, in terms of, the way Brendan works, which is great, it simplifies it for you, is we would concentrate on ourselves. If there was something glaringly obvious, we would pay attention to it, but we never dwelled on the opposition. So at that point in time, if you played a Swansea City team, you knew what you was getting. We knew what to do. We knew you knew what we was going to do, but we felt like stopping it was a different animal. And we didn't win all the games, but we had a good season, and we'd shocked a lot of teams. We'd beat a lot of teams. I think when I was at Swansea, we'd beat every top team, bar maybe Spurs at some point. So we was a good team, but it was Brendan that set that up, and it was just more concentrate on yourself. You'd be all right.
We'll come back to that in a moment, because Chelsea have set up a grandstand minute at Stamford Bridge. Ian Abrahams.
Absolutely. The Champions League hopes lie in the next 60 seconds. Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0. There's new skin who's put the ball in the back of that. Ball in from the left-hand side. She swept the ball home. This is after both sides hit the woodwork numerous times. And Van Domselaar have been brilliant in the Arsenal goal. But now there is a hope for Chelsea. They haven't got long. They've got 45 seconds. And the ball is up near their goal. So they need to get the other end and have one more chance. But it's Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0. Arsenal lead 3-2 on aggregate.
We'll be back with Ian very, very quickly. Just to end the conversation on that Swansea team. I know you've played for other clubs. You've got great, I'm sure, many stories from international football as well. But I think that Swansea team, that period that you played for Swansea, does live long in the memory for a lot of Premier League fans. You know, it's kind of a prime Barclays team, if you know what I mean, because you left a lot of memories with the style of football that you played with.
Yeah.
Run us through some of the players that you played with in that team and what they meant.
Michel Vorm, for example, in goal, Dutch goalkeeper, unbelievable. One of the first ones I was like, he's one of our best passers. He's one of our best passers throughout the team. So you talk about starting attacks, you could press, he'd pick out any player on the pitch, all 10 players. And then we had the likes of Michu in there, Pablo Hernandez, Nathan Dyer, Wayne Routledge, all these players, Leon Britton, Joe Allen, like really good football players, intelligent football players. Their stats, the ball retention and the passing stats was off the chart. We would just, it seems like now, okay, great, well done, because everyone does it, but we kind of did it. We went up and then everyone said, you can't really do that in the Premier League. Well, we was like, well, okay, well, that's all we know what to do, so we're going to give it a go. And I'm speaking to opposition players now after I've retired and stuff. They was like, I hated playing Swansea because you just knew you wasn't going to see much of the ball, even if you got the win. So if we lost, it was still kind of an enjoyable process, the game, because we'd get all of our touches and we'd create chances and, you know, we'd win or we'd lose at the end of it, but it was enjoyable football.
It really was, actually, and I think most Premier League fans remember, I think we were watching like a Monday Night Football and they put up the Leon Britton's passing stats. And
Unbelievable player.
Yeah, the best passing stats in Europe ahead of Xavi Hernandez of Barcelona at the time. So kind of underlines how good you guys were with the ball. Anyway, listen, this is the debut, and I'm sure we're going to see much more of you. It's been a real pleasure to be with the former Wales captain, Ashley Williams, for the last few hours. Let's very quickly touch in on Stamford Bridge and the last few moments there. Ian Abrahams.
Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0. Newskins sweeping the ball home 4 minutes into 5 of added on time. We're well over that now. We're into the 7th minute of added time as Hampton plays it inside the penalty area and it's cleared from inside the Arsenal penalty area. I can tell you that one decision that definitely went against Chelsea a couple of minutes ago, a foul on Thompson, has seen 2 yellow cards for Sonia Bumpastor, who's been sent off, the Chelsea coach, so she's not around at the end of the game. Quick story of the game, really. Chelsea gave it their all, but Van Domstar, the Arsenal goal, was brilliant, making some brilliant saves, and it's Arsenal go through. Full time at Stamford Bridge. It's Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0, but Arsenal win the tie 3-2 on aggregate. The holders are through to the semi-finals of the Champions League.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. A little bit earlier on, Manchester United went out at the hands of Bayern Munich, beaten 2-1 on the night, 5-3 on aggregate. But Arsenal will be flying the flag in the final 4. Thank you very much indeed, Ashley Williams. Thank you once again. Sports Bar coming up very shortly. The number to call, 03717 223344. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.
I don't know if you saw the Italy penalties last night. Absolutely,
I did.
I didn't.
Woeful.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere in Zenica in Bosnia, I mean, they had guys with flares in the high-rise buildings next to the stadium. I mean, they gave those Italians a tough night.
Okay, Nick, look, it's easy sitting here, right, taking penalties. Been there, Ali's done it as well. But when you see the Italian penalties, and 2 of them, one's blasted over the bar and one hits the bar.
Yeah.
You know, surely if you're going to go hard, keep it low. You've got to go low. You know, you're not playing rugby.
I know.
You're not blasting it as high as you can.
Well, we saw Brennan Johnson for Wales as well do a similar thing. But the one of the Bosnian players stuck his penalty in the top corner. It was absolutely perfect. So if it comes off, it's the best place to go.
Yeah, there's very few that can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that moment. Would you, Al, be confident?
No, I used to just whip them back across myself.
Low and hard.
Yeah.
Low and hard was
whip them. Whip them back across. You take the chance. If you lift it, listen. If you lift it, it looks great. It goes in. But if it doesn't,
yeah.
Also, we